Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Knights of Last Call. My name is Derek Melenda, back again for another stream. It's our usual Tuesday night stream, and we will once again be doing a first look, as always, recently voted on by our Knights of Last Call patrons. And today we have a very special one for you. We are going to be covering Ryuutama, the natural fantasy roleplay game. A Japanese-based TRPG that was translated into English and published a number of years ago. Let's be clear here. My patrons know that I will not like this game. Now, this is a very interesting opportunity for me because this provides an opportunity for me to judge a game based off of its merits. Now, that being said, my own biases and my own opinions will probably make their way in. But to be clear, this style of game, what some people call the slice of life style game, is not to my liking or my preference. So enjoy, if you will, the misery that my patrons have inflicted upon me. I do want to make a couple quick announcements before we go ahead and get started. One is that after yesterday's stream, we had somebody come in. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Here it is. We had a Quartos come in after the fact and drop $30 as a tip, but wanted it moved over to the Super Chat. And they wanted that because they want to see the Candela Obscura. My thoughts on it. So with that, we actually reached that tip goal, or that stream Super Chat goal. So we are going to go ahead and I'll probably take a look at Candela Obscura after the fact. So thank you, Questos, for that generous tip, and we'll take a look at that. All righty. Oh, boy. Let's see what we got going on here. We've got Pumpkin in the house. What is up, Pumpkin? London is here as well. Sidon, Ayla. Mark says the description sounds really unfun. All right, sounds good. The soothing voice of Derek. Okay, we got our first super chat from Mr. Damian Williams. This isn't Marvel. No, it is not. And unfortunately for us, that it is not. Boothby says, I have no interest in this, and I need to try to accomplish something today. Awesome. Well, at least appreciate the honesty. Ben says, he thinks I will like this game. Ooh, I do not agree. No, Damien, this is not Marvel. Unfortunately, we are covering this. Now, again, I want to be clear about something. The game design may be impeccable. We'll see. But it is not my cup of tea. So thank you, GM Scott.
GM Scott tipped $10. Sorry about your topic, Derek. However, I'm afraid there's no Schadenfreude for me tonight. I'm running Session 0 Part 2 for my new VSD campaign. I'll have to catch the VOD.
Well, thank you, GM Scott. Love those Session Zeros Part 2s. That's how you know you're doing it right. I'm curious because Versus, I think, Against the Dark Master listed Ryuutama as a potential source of inspiration. So we'll definitely have to take a look at that. Now, good luck, and thank you so much, GM Scott, for your tip. And I appreciate that, you are not one to enjoy my misery. But there may be some people out there who wish to laugh at my pain, and I highly encourage it because that's what we do here. So before we kind of dive into this, a couple of notes. I like Fabula Ultima, big, huge fan of that. And my understanding is that this game, Ryuutama, was a major source of inspiration for the creators of that game, and that there's quite a few mechanical systems that were more or less lifted wholesale out of Ryuutama and used, maybe repurposed and used for different purposes. But the overall mechanics were sort of repolished and reused in Fabula Ultima. So that'll be interesting from my perspective as well. So before we go ahead and open up the PDF, let me go ahead and read what the description says here on DriveThruRPG. By the way, we do have a link to this below if you're interested in picking up the PDF. It is an affiliate link, so Knights of the Last Call will get a few percentage points. Doesn't cost you any more money, but gives us a couple extra bucks to buy more PDFs off of DriveThruRPG because it's a DriveThruRPG credit. So, all right, Ryuutama is an RPG developed in Japan by designer Atsuhiro Okada. It is set in a world where the NPCs of the village, the bakers, the farmers, the shopkeepers, and healers set off on a wonderful adventure exploring a fantasy world together. Some people colloquially call it Miyazaki's Oregon Trail because of its heartwarming feel of family anime and its focus on traveling and wonder over combat and treasure. The characters are travelers in a world without classical fantasy wizards and warriors. Instead, they are merchants, minstrels, healers, hunters, artisans, farmers, and nobles who decide to leave their towns and explore the world. Using a light rule system based on polyhedral dice, where the randomness in results leads to more story development. Ryuutama provides a framework for travel-focused stories, fun for adults and enjoyable for children of all ages. The Game Master also creates a special character with its own unique character sheet. Great. Called the Ryujin. The half-dragon Ryujin remains off-screen most of the time, but watches over the characters and can provide limited spells and abilities to support them. Literal mechanicized Deus Ex Machina. The GM provides adversity that the players have to overcome, but at the same time, they protect and nurture the characters. Boy, I'm loving this already. All right, couple of bullet points here. Experience is gained primarily by making difficult journey to new places, far more than monster slaying. Now that in of itself is not a bad thing. Magic is based on seasonal essences and focuses on the classic creative use of magic to overcome problems over combat-themed spells. I'm not opposed to that. I like free-form magic systems. Maybe that's something where the ritual is. Combat is simple and fun, featuring a classic council-style front/back line battle mat. This is actually something that I kind of wish Fabula Ultima had done. I like the idea. Growing up playing like Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy VI, those were games that had that, and Final Fantasy I obviously, had that front line, back line. The players at the table have a hand in creating the towns that their characters visit together, so everyone has an interest in the next leg of the journey. Critical fumbles, rolling 1 on both dice, so this is very much sounding like Fabula Ultima, hurts, but all the characters at the table get a bonus to future rolls in return. Oh boy. So I usually like to take a look first before we get into it at the character sheet. So let's take a look at the character sheet here. So Damien says, so it's a JRPG style TTRPG that focuses more on fluffy bullshit than Fabula Ultima. That is my initial read on this as well. All right, so let's be clear about a couple of things here. We read the description of the game. So one of the things that we always talk about on these first looks is what I'm looking for is the game being forthright and upfront about what it is, what is it promising to deliver? Second, does the game give me mechanics that allow me to do that thing? And then third thing is, are we rewarded if we do the thing that the game says we should be doing? So from that perspective, this is a game where it obviously sounds like the exploration of the characters, their motivations, their goals, their experiences is much more important than necessarily overcoming challenges. The existence of a GM Mary Sue character / Deus Ex Machina mechanized, a mechanical god, a mechanized mechanical god, definitely indicates to me that this has a very heavy-handed style, where, again, the story is much more important than any sort of concept of challenge. And I'm curious if what we'll find out here is that this is really just more of like a really elaborate story cubes generator. So story cubes, for those of you who don't know, is there's dice. They have different symbols on them. You roll them. You look at the different symbols, and you and your friends try to like go around and tell a story based off of the symbols that are showing on the story cubes. So is this just a really complicated way to play story cubes? So we'll see. All right. So taking a look at the character sheet here, we have our Ryujin, which I guess is your dungeon master, or no, is that you? Nope. That's your dungeon master. Okay. So the first thing that you get to write on your character sheet is literally the name of the GM's PC. Anyways, then you have your character name, your name, level. Okay. So this game has levels, experience, gender, age, class. There's a slash there. We get a couple of class skills. We see that stats used has a plus in between them. And again, knowing that this game is inspired by Fabula Ultima leads me to believe that your skills use two different stats, which is what Fabula Ultima does. And what it does. We have our weapon, color, hometown, reason for travel. Then we have our stats, and we have strength, dexterity, intellect or intelligence, and what looks to be spirit. They have a D and a blank, so my guess is Fabula Ultima used the mechanics from this, and we'll be assigning D6s or D8s or D10s to these stats, and that's what we're going to roll. And in some cases, we're going to usually be rolling 2 of these stats and adding the 2 dice together, just like we do in Fabula Ultima. So a strength of D10 and a dexterity of D6. If we did a strength plus dexterity action, it would be D10 plus D6. Similar to Fabula Ultima, which Fabula Ultima came after this. Max hit points is equal to double your strength. Max MP, magic points, mana points is equal to your spirit times 2. We have an interesting thing here, strength plus spirit. And we have some sort of condition track. Don't really know what those are. Fumble points. The game did say if we roll fumble, which is double nat ones, we get some sort of maybe meta currency so that we can do better next time. We get some equipment. We have different bonuses depending on what kind of terrain we're in. And then at the bottom, we have statuses. And these reduce the size of a die, just like in Fabula Ultima. So Fabula Ultima, you have the 4 individual statistic reductions, and then you have the 1 category reduction. So we can see that if our character was injured, then our die size goes down by 1 for dexterity. If we are poisoned, then our die size goes down by 1 for strength. A D10 would become a D8. And if we were sick, it looks like that would happen for both dexterity and strength and would stack. All right. So that's the character sheet. That's all there is to it. All right. So here is our Ryuutama game. It's not the name of the GM. It's the type of Ryujin that they're playing, I think. I see. Ryujin is like saying dragon kind. 4 seasonal dragons that kind of act more like an aloof Gandalf. Much more aloof. No, you shall not pass from them. All right. Here we go. Dragons being born from the 4 seasons. All right. The world is a dragon's egg. With the travelers and the Ryujin warm. I guess we are travelers in this game. We've got a nice picture of a real picture of a tree with a Pokemon drawn into the grass. Okay. All right. So what can we be as a traveler? So right off the bat, we can see that this game has a very strong Japanese anime kind of vibe. Again, that is what the game was going for. It came out of Japan, so this shouldn't surprise any of us. And again, we are not adventurers. We are travelers. We are kind of ordinary folks that are just going on these journeys. So we've got minstrels, merchants, hunters, And again, looks like everybody either has a set of starting skills or recommended skills. Okay. Minstrel, merchant, hunter, healer, farmer, artisan, and noble. Okay. So even though the game is sort of like be whatever you want, it looks like it's still fairly regulated to 7 different classes, perhaps. And then the GM picks their special dragon type that they are. I'm not even going to try these names. Midori Ryu, Ao Ryu. So we have the Azure Dragon, the Green Dragon, the Crimson Dragon, and the Black Dragon. I have no idea what these mean yet, but this I think has this has a little it's very strange to mechanize. This is a very weird concept for me to mechanize fudging in this way. To literally be like, what kind of fudging GM, what kind of Deus Ex Machina GM do you want to be? It's like, again, it's like literally mechanizing the Deus Ex Machina. It's very strange here. Like the blue dragon has the power to strengthen bonds and reward kindness. Whew, boy, this is going to take... Roll for Comment says, I'm coming to you from an island in the middle of nowhere. What new hell is this? Well, this isn't a new hell, Stephen. This is several years old. This is Ryuutama, the natural fantasy role-playing game, where you are not adventurers and you do not fight monsters. Instead, you go on journeys, and the GM, in the form of a friendly, somewhat distant dragon storyteller, takes you and your characters on a variety of thrilling journeys so that you can learn about the world and yourself. All right. We got some dice notation here. Okay. How to handle rules disputes. Let me guess. Yes, they are solely written for entertainment. They are not carved in stone. Of course. Then we have our table of contents. So we've got a sort of a basic introduction of Ryuutama, which, again, I will definitely want to take a look at. Then we get into the Book of Spring, which covers the different classes, party roles, interesting, how to level up, items, facilities. I mean, there's a lot of crunch here. I mean, I knew the book was big. I'm actually kind of surprised at how much crunch is in here. Traveling gear, animals, general items, which is different from healing herbs, magic, spell lists, incantation magic, spring magic, summer magic, fall magic, winter magic, intro replay 1. Okay. So then from the Book of Spring, we go to the Book of Summer. This has the rules for skill checks, contested checks, concentration, journeys, terrain dragons, weather dragons, town creation, world creation, combat, intro replay 2. The Book of Autumn looks like it's all about the game master's character creation. Again, very strange to have GMPC be part of the game, but all right, I'm trying to get with it here. All the different types of dragons, what the benediction is, what the reveille is, reveal. I don't know that word. I typed that word into reveal. Okay, it's just a weird way to spell reveal. All right. Leveling. Oh, I get to level up my GM dragon too. Okay. And then the Book of Winter is the final part, which just has lists of monsters. Okay. A vast expanse, the fullness of nature and wonder of the changing seasons, the beckons the intrepid traveler. It was born of 4 dragons. They dined to breathe life into 20 more dragons and give them dominion over the land. The 4 dragons of the seasons and the 20 dragons of the earth and sky were the beginning and is now protected. Okay, so dragons are cool. Got it. Players assume the role of travelers who have embarked on a journey. In this world, there exists an ancient custom. All men and women are expected to leave their hometown for an extended journey at least once in their life. These people are called travelers. Interesting. So this is like literally like a, almost like a Hajj, right? Like it's like a religious pilgrimage that everyone is expected to do. It's kind of interesting. Let's see. Terrain and inclement weather will conspire to make your journey difficult. Do you have enough food and water? Okay, so travel. This game is basically one big travel montage. Did you bring your boots and rain capes? Proper preparation is essential to the survival in the wilds, but one must not forget to take in the sights and sounds of the fantastic places you visit. Oh, all right. Okay. In addition, there is someone watching over the travelers. That is the Ryujin, the character controlled by the game master. We also create the scenario and manage the play session. However, we also get to make our own personal caretaker dragon who will use mechanical powers to create miracles and save the charges from perils. Basically, to fudge or to put them into a pickle. So basically, just to do whatever we want to do, whenever we want to, just to make the game exciting. Okay. There is no official setting. We have to make it. Okay, this is, again, something that Fabula Ultima took to heart. I love this idea of collaborative world creation, or certainly drawing maps, leaving blanks, building it as we explore it. At the beginning, everyone will get involved to create the towns and environs that will become the foundations of your journey. And you should try making towns and villages you'd like to travel to by discussing with your friends. All right. Once again, referring to them as table talk RPGs, as they say in Japan. A TRPG is a game where you act out the character that you have created, performing an improv session with everyone at the table. I hate that description of role-playing. It's interesting, too, that they call them table talk role-playing games, but growing up, I knew table talk as like literally meta talk, like when you're playing euchre or something. If table talk was just like, talking about the game and, doing all sorts of like meta gaming. So it's kind of funny that they call it table talk RPGs. Part of the fun of TRPGs comes from the randomness of rolling dice and using data to strategize. You must come up with a scheme to get past an obstacle based off of the attributes of weapons and magic and the ability scores of enemies and comrades. Computer games do this, but RPGs in particular have a lot of coming up with schemes. Using items and spells in new and unexpected ways to overcome problems is a hallmark of the genre. I agree if you're playing the right game for that. And unpredicted, that's why we roll dice, for unpredicted results. Okay. We've got people embarking on journey, peasants, citizens, short-tempered, kind-hearted, all go on an odyssey. Some are called for different reasons. The beauty of nature. It looks like it. A legendary king of an ancient kingdom is suddenly said to have said, well, this looks like this is a traveling season, and abruptly left his kingdom to embark on their journey. Journeys last a year or two, with most travelers returning home after satisfying their curiosity or otherwise completing their goal. Okay. So this is interesting because many of you know this, but in 2018, after leaving my job, I left my job, and a big part of the reason I did that was so that I could go hike the Appalachian Trail. So I went and hiked and lived in the woods for about 6 months, give or take. And basically my day every day was traveling from city to city, from path down along the path with my fellow travelers, people who are called your tramley, your trail family, your tramley. And your only thing that you had to do was get to the next stop, this, next beautiful spot to take a picture or to hang around. So in a weird way, this completely, now we didn't have a magical GM dragon trying to make our lives interesting or make our lives convenient. But I will say that like the idea of this, I think, is very appealing. Obviously, I set aside my life and my career to literally go travel and to go on a big journey and return home when I was done. And so it's weird because while this is totally something that I would do in real life, the idea of doing this in a tabletop role-playing game is very strange to me. All right. We have costs. We have to buy food and lodging and clothing, but we have to take little odd jobs in towns to make a little profit. Town inns usually have a notice board for locals to post jobs for travelers. The contents of these jobs range from simple letter carrying to the extermination of ferocious monsters. But, the game has really given me the sense that there might be a lot of fetch quests in this game. In this world, it has become commonplace to make a request and pay travelers to solve burdensome problems as they arrive. But again, they're supposed to just be ordinary folks. So they're not like adventurers, which is interesting. The Ryuujin appear as beautiful humans with dragon wings and horns. They are known to take the form of animals and plants. There is a deep connection between Ryuujin and the seasonal dragons. The seasonal dragons are the dragons responsible for the creation of the world, but compared to the nearly eternal lifespan of a dragon, they are still very young. The seasonal dragons have an eternity of growth before them. Seasonal dragons do not eat normal food, but instead consume travel logs, the very stories that are born of those who would traverse the world of Ryuutama. Okay. So the Ryuujin records the travels logs from the deeds of the travelers and offers them up as food to the seasonal dragons. And as they feed them stories, the dragons grow. Stories from spring are fed to the spring. Summer is fed to the summer, and so on. And as the seasonal dragons grow, the world too becomes brighter and more colorful. The form of the seasonal dragons and then the world itself depends on the type of travel logs consumed. So let's get this correct. Your magical GM PC, beautiful dragon hybrid person who mysteriously watches over the travelers is fucking with them or helping them out to keep them going so that they can make stories, which they can then feed to the dragons, the seasonal dragons, which will then absorb that travel and that story of travel, that story of change, and that story of discovery. And that in turn will make the world a more vibrant and beautiful place. While at the same time, it is the very makeup of the travels that you and your travel companions went on that will affect the way that the world changes. Thus, the journey of one man or one woman, in a sense, becomes the journey of us all. Okay. Again, it's very hard for me to put myself into a state of mind where this is something I would want to do. There's a reason I don't watch most anime. Okay. Let's see here. So Ryuujin. I guess I'm sorry. I haven't seen the chat here. Heavy Metal says this seems like something that Studio Ghibli would make. Beowulf says, laughing my ass off, Derek, you poor bastard. I can feel your pain. Sidon says, beautifully said. Isaiah saying Derek's struggling with this hard for some reason. Yeah, somehow. New tip goal: Ryuutama actual play $5,000. Make mine Marvel, says Ken. All I could do was 2 sessions of this game. FYI, I was like, where is the conflict? You guys must not like slice of life anime. No, I do not. I definitely do not like slice. I mean, here's the thing. It's interesting because I don't really play video games anymore, but I used to love playing SimCity and like City Skylines, right? But they didn't have any characters. You know what I mean? Like it was world building and there was a sort of a story, but like games like Stardew Valley and stuff, I have no interest in. But I would sit there and play like City Skylines or SimCity that doesn't have that sort of personal connection for a long time. Okay, so the Ryujin, aka the GM's personal Mary Sue PC, GM PC, basically finds a group of travelers and watches over them discreetly. They will guide the traveler to a place where something is about to happen, and sometimes the Ryujin will lend a hand when the travelers seem to be in danger. Let's read this again. Let's be really careful that when we read this again. At times, the Ryujin, aka the GM's custom-created, beautiful dragon, human hybrid god person, will guide travelers to a place where something is about to happen, and at other times, the Ryujin will lend a hand when the travelers seem to be in danger. So, translation. At times, the GM will railroad the PCs to where they need to be, and then at times, if the PCs are in any danger, the GM will fudge to make sure that they end up okay. Okay? So that is what that sentence is actually saying. They're saying it very nicely. They're saying it very like, oh, it's so fun. Now, to be clear, this is the game's promise, right? The game is not promising you, oh, here's a tactical agenda where your character's choices and player agency matter. This is saying, no, it's all about you going on the journey that the magic dragon storytelling creature wants you to go on so that he can feed stories to the spring and summer and autumn and winter dragons. Anyways, to this end, the GMPCs have 3 special powers at their disposal. Artifacts, which have the power to influence the natural laws of the world. Benedictions, which have miraculous powers over travelers. And Reveal, which allow the Ryujin to exert some of their life energy to change into a substantial form. Using these 3 powers, Ryujin are able to help shape travelogues into amazing stories fit to serve a dragon. So put another way, this game mechanicizes your fudging so that you as the GM, so basically, it says using these powers, Ryujin are able to help shape travelogues into amazing gosh damn it. Damian Williams. But my story GMs, I wasn't expecting that. But my story GMs got wood hearing this. Well, absolutely, because this last sentence here basically says, so the stories have to be awesome, right? For the dragons to be pleased with them. But the travelers, aka your players, aka the PCs, they kind of suck and they actually don't tell good stories. So the goal of the GM is to use your special fudging powers to make the PCs actually kind of interesting. Because if it wasn't for you and all of your meddling and influences, the stories wouldn't be really fun. So basically the players would just be boring and the stories wouldn't be worth anything. So it relies on you, the GM, to make sure that the story is good, because otherwise it wouldn't be. And the dragons would starve to death because the travelogues would not be interesting. Viking says this sounds god awful. Viking, listen, it's different strokes for different folks. This is hard to watch, but I can't turn away. All right. Woo, boy. All right. So this is the pattern of play. This is a procedural game. This is the pattern of play. I am taking the worst possible interpretation of that for sure. What other interpretation is there to make of that? Look, it says you're able to shape stories into amazing stories. Basically, you're able to help shape the stories that your PCs are making into amazing stories. All right. I mean, this game, in my personal opinion, is very much telling me that it wants me, the game master, to be a very active shaper of the story and I get it. Help shape. But I mean, we'll see how heavy-handed these abilities are. I mean, to be fair, I mean, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not heavy-handed at all. Dr. Waits, this is exactly how PBTA GMing seems to me. It mechanicizes GM moves. The difference is in the agenda, Dr. Waits. And more importantly, remember, GM moves in Powered by the Apocalypse are only done in response to the players rolling badly. So the GM move is in a response to the player attempting to seize control of the narrative. And at that point, one or both forces get it. It's not both, right? If the player rolls low, then the GM gets to make the move. If the player rolls high, then the player gets to make the move. So it's really about passing a baton of narrative control. You can't just make GM moves whenever you want in Powered by the Apocalypse. So that's the difference. So again, I don't know what restrictions or limitations are on this, yes. Yes, the GM has a role, absolutely. But it's a question of how much control and how much influence do you have, right? This chapter that I just read made it seem like you have a lot of control and influence and that you can very much heavily shape outcomes. So that's all I'm saying. So it's in any game, there's going to be elements that the GM adds to the story, and there's going to be elements that the players individually and as a group add to the story. Where does that balance? Look, this is what a first look is. I'm just reading the book and I'm just reacting to it as I go through page by page. The game is several hundred pages long. So, all right. Travelers, step by step. We get to know what kind of game this is. Read the rule book. You know what? Respect that they came out and just say that. I love it. Prepare the game. Review character creation. So read the book, then review it. I love it. Gather the materials. We get a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12. So no D20s, but they do use a D4. Create the characters together. Very good advice. Fabula Ultima also takes this advice, which is great. Gather your party, discuss everyone's roles, and give introductions, and then create the town that will become your initial destination, or maybe it's your final destination. Either way, great advice. Good stuff. Now, that's what we do before we begin playing. That's sort of our session 0.5. What is a voyage like? What is a travel like? Well, we determine how good or bad we feel that day. Okay, then we make a condition check. Are we able to travel without getting hurt? And then we make a travel check. Are we able to find our way without getting lost? And are we able to spend the night safely and without incident? So we've got condition checks, travel checks, direction checks, and camping checks. So sounds like there's a lot of mechanics for traveling. Hopefully this leads to very interesting choices and things happening. What happens if we don't feel well? Then the status effect rules come into play. And we saw those here. You could imagine that someone wakes up and, they're feeling tired today, or maybe they're feeling sick, or maybe they're feeling a bit muddled and confused. So I think that's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool. What if there's a monster encounter? Then we go to the combat rules. So interesting. And what about when we get to the town? Well, we walk around town. We can enjoy shopping, and we follow the shopping rules. Now, this just, again, remember, like I said, this game is not for me. I bypass shopping. Maybe they do too. We'll see. I don't let my players shop. Like I just go, you buy what you buy. Maybe we roll a couple dice to see. Like I don't do, I don't do any sort of like I haggle with the merchant or anything like that. I just skip through it. Go to the next place. Ayla says shopping rules. I love it. Quick and Dirty says this game is surprisingly simulationist, which made it even more of a slog to play. London says GM is too much like a player. Derek wants to GM so he doesn't have to be a player. There is some truth to that, London. But here's the thing, because what Lope is saying is that I've seen a lot of RPGs where the GMs are also kind of a player or there's no GM at all. To be clear, I think I'm fine with those ideas, right? Well, the idea is like, hey, we're all equal here. There is no game master. We're all adding to the game on our own. What I don't like about this is this feels to me, again, I'm just going by what the wording is saying. It's feeling to me like it's saying like, hey, we're all players and we all get a PC, but the GM kind of, they kind of get extra advantages and they get to kind of make what they really want to have happen. And so that's where I'm a little bit like, well, why am I so special? Right. We're all equal, but I am first among equals. I'm more equal than you, right? Fair amount of simulationism and bookkeeping in the game. Yeah, that's what Quick and Dirty Roleplaying said. That's surprising to me. Right. I'm the most equal. Right. Exactly. All right. Things that you can do to make your trip comfortable. You can make use of your skills. You can use your tools and items. You can use medicinal herbs, and you can use magic. Seems totally reasonable. Growth upon completion of your journey. You add up your experience and you level up. Okay. So the play pattern. We get together, we session 0, we collaborate, we make characters. We go on travels between towns. We see how we're feeling. We check to see what happens along the way. We see if we get lost. We see if we can spend the night comfortably and camp. When we get to town, we shop. We enjoy the facilities and services of the town. We get to hang out with fucking animals. Sweet. I love dogs. And we get some experience points and rinse repeat until apparently the dragons have been satiated and enough travelogue has been fed so that the next evolution of the dragon can be unleashed upon the world. All right. Player's role. Control a single character, cooperate with the other players, and make the session fun. Proceed through a scenario with the GM. Follow the rules of the game. Ian says, finally a vibes-based RPG. Yep, that is exactly what this is. All right. We got some art here. Look at the people. They're going on a journey. They're helping each other out. They're looking at their maps. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, no. They're being attacked by little creatures. They're having a little bit of combat. Okay. Oh, and here we are camping, relaxing, sleeping, plucking away on our guitar. Lollipop, no. This game is being very forthright. Now, my own personal distaste or dislike for this is obviously coming through here, but I don't see there's anything wrong with what they are trying to do here. In fact, I respect games more like this than I respect games like 5th edition D&D or Pathfinder 2, because this game is decidedly and solidly trying to be something, and it is unashamed about being it. Even if it's not for me, that's okay. This is the kind of game that Mark Rosewater talks about, where he said that the point of game design should not to be to get, if you have 100 people, that you get 85 of them or 90 of them that say, I give the game a 7 out of 10. No, what you want is a bunch of zeros and a bunch of 10s. You want people who love your game, who are passionate about your game, who are insanely into your game, and then a bunch of people who say, this is not for me. London Matthew says, it feels wrong not to super chat this good faith attempt. I'm trying, buddy. I'm really trying. I'm sorry. If you love this game, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to yuck your yum. Okay. My patrons knew what they were doing when they asked for this. All right. Lope says, I really like Ryuutama. It's very heavy on bookkeeping and doing the thing, where in other RPGs, you would just skip it. It's definitely not for everyone, but for people who like to vibe, it's really good. And I think that's a great point, which is to say, one of the things that I always talk about, and I to a certain extent, I respect games like D&D and Pathfinder 2 for this, because games like Pathfinder 2 and D&D say, look, our game is about heroic fantasy combat, by and large. So here's a ton of rules and feats and all this other stuff, classes and spells that deal with fighting and deal with combat and deal with this stuff. And then, everything else, skill system is kind of, it's pretty lightweight, because we just want you to, make an athletics check and move on with your life, right? Make a diplomacy check. Yeah. The guards let you in, and we're into the town. We're into the next part of the adventure. We're into the next cool cinematic scene, or the next cool, the next plot beat, or the next big fight. So those games are designed to shortcut this sort of in between type thing. If you look at a game like Root, right? Root has a whole section of journeying, because a big part of what makes a vagabond special in the world of Root is that they can travel the woodlands, and everybody else has to stick to the path, but a vagabond will go into the woods. But that is literally boiled down to a single travel move, right? It's literally a move called travel through the forest, and you make one die roll, and that's it. That it boils the entire traveling sequence into one mechanic and one moment in the game, and then boom, and you're on to the next thing. This game is not that, as far as I can tell. Ian says, I feel like the most common misconception on your streams is people confusing your criticisms with antagonism. You're one of the most neutral reviewers out there on average. And Ian, I actually completely agree with you. I think people, not just here, but I think in general, people confuse criticism with antagonism. And more importantly, people confuse or conflate criticism of something that you enjoy with me criticizing you, or, for liking it. And that is, that's not what it is. So thank you, Ian. That's a good point. All right. So what does a GMPC get to do? Well, we have to read the rule book as well. We got to get some dice, and we got to get copies of the game reference sheets. It's funny that you guys were talking about the complexity of the game. And sure enough, here's your food and water sheet. Here is the GM's character sheet. Here is the item sheet. Here is the journey log. Here is the notes section. Here is the journey rules. Here is the town creation sheet. Here is the world creation sheet. So there's a lot of stuff here that, number one, Fabula Ultima very clearly took from. And two, there's like a lot of, there's a lot of detail here. Look, I mean, when you're making this journey log, it's like the leader, the destination, who was the mapper. I mean, you're doing this for every single journey. I think there's a part of, even for me, of people that's like, oh, the accounting, sometimes playing spreadsheets and dragons isn't the worst thing, right? If you've ever played, you know what I'm talking about when I say spreadsheets and dragons, okay? Okay. We create the scenario. So we determine the scenario type, and we create a scenario. We complete the scenario objective worksheet. We complete the scenario structure sheet. We complete the event streak sheet. We decide the Ryuuji's benediction and embark upon that. So off the cuff, this is sounding, I create the objective, I create the structure, I create the event. Again, I don't know what these are individually in the context of this game, but it really sounds like I am spelling out what is going to happen. Then when we start to play, I support and help the PCs. My job is to advance the scenarios. I watch over the PCs. I narrate, I rules adjudicate, I control NPCs, and I support the scenario by creating miracles, aka I support the scenario by fudging, but fudging using the mechanics of the game. So it's not actually fudging. So we can't actually call it fudging. GM intervention. Offer the completed story to the dragons of the 4 seasons to consume. Make a record of the session and level up. And if any trouble arises, consult the FAQ or glossary. My role, I think, by the way, this is something very minor. Obviously this is kind of like a little cutesy with the player role. Control a character, cooperate, proceed through a scenario with the GM. But I think seriously, more RPGs should do this, where they basically say, look, I'm going to spell this out for you. These are your principles and agendas. Obviously Powered by the Apocalypse does this really, really well. I think that's important for a player and for a game master to know, what am I doing here? And how am I supposed to do it? And are you giving me the tools that will allow me to do it? So my job is to act as a fair referee, explain the outcome of the player's actions, narrate the scenery and conditions, control the NPCs and monsters, and make the session fun for everyone. Okay, I can get behind that. So we see here that the GM is reading the rules. Looks like they're going hard, burning the midnight oil because the rules are very complicated. Then we see the GM fervently creating their railroad. I'm just kidding, but we can see them going, oh, here's the town, and here's the journeys and the challenges and the enemies and the events that they're going to face along the way. Then here's the players proceeding, and the GM is like, hey, I'm just watching. I'm keeping a close eye on you, writing down what you do. And if you start to mess up or you start to go off, script, I'm going to use some of my magic GM benediction powers to make sure that you stay on target. And then this is me feeding the story back to the dragons so that they can grow and change. All right. Sounds good. So we got GM, PCs, party, sheets. So you know all these terms, I think. Dice. Wow. They talk about helpful advice. It hurts when you step on it. Be careful. Each die face looks like a drop of water. Fun. All right. So, player character creation. So again, the Book of Spring is all about creating a character, a player character. The Book of Summer is basically the rules of the game for GMs and for players. And the Book of Autumn is the rules for creating the GM character, the Ryujin. And then the Book of Winter contains monsters. So I love the layout of this. I think the art here, the visual stylings of the blue for the sort of orange red for the autumn, the lovely yellows for summer, and the beautiful greens for spring. A+. That is very, very nice. So I really like that. Like, that's a very fun, strong visual tie. Makes it very, very easy. Yeah. Every RPG needs a drawing of the same dice everyone has been using for 50 years. We've discussed this at length on this channel. I don't want to go into it again, but there's this weird, I don't know. There's this weird element where I sometimes look at an RPG and I go, why does every RPG need to be written for people who have never literally picked up a book before and have never even heard of a role-playing game in their entire life? I don't know why every RPG has to be written that way. Anyways, we have to choose a class. They represent different jobs. Players should cooperate so that their specialties and skills do not overlap. The minstrel, merchant, healer, and hunter are recommended for new players. The artisan, farmer, and noble are recommended for players with little experience. I love that. Being very forthright and honest. It's not trying to say, all of our classes are even. All of our classes are perfectly acceptable for a brand new character. That is just not the case. And I've seen that many times where people go and they play a class that they're really excited to play. But the fact of the matter is, an alchemist is really fucking complicated in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And isn't a good choice for a new character, or for a new player. So I like that they come out and say, look, some of these things are easier than others, and that's fine. Choosing a class to determine what skills you have. You're able to use any skills available to your class at first level. Then we choose a type. Each type is adept at handling certain kinds of danger. So there is the attack type that specializes in combat. The technical type. Oh, weird. It's like there's 3 different flavors of adventurer. The warrior type, the expert, and the spellcaster. Weird. It's like almost like that's like a really good idea. So boom, I love it. Combat, skills, magic. A+. So apparently, this kind of, I wonder if there's like a strike overlap here, but it sounds like you kind of overlay your class with your type, and we'll see what that means. I'm kind of curious what does a farmer magic mean? I don't know, but we'll see. Okay, here we go. We have starting ability scores. We get some dice. We can either use straight sixes, 4, 6, 6, 8, or a 4, 4, 8, 8. Fabula Ultima literally stole this flat out, except they don't use the D4. So basically, you can either be really specialized or you can kind of be good across everything. Excuse me. We have our stats. Explaining what strength, dexterity, intelligence, and spirit does. And again, remember, we're going to be rolling two. When we do skills, we're going to be rolling two of these stats together. So pretty simple. This is a minor point. I don't like that says 6, 6, 6 and 4, 6, 6, 8. I want it to say D4, D6, D6, D8. Just a minor capacity here. So then we have some derived stats. Hit points is equal to our strength times 2. When we go to 0 hit points, we're knocked unconscious. Any damage that reduces us below 0 has a chance to cause that character's death. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm surprised to hear that death is a thing in this game. MP, abstract value representing force of will and concentration. They're called mental points, not mana points or magic points. It can never drop below 0. If it falls to 0, you also fall unconscious. So that's interesting. Carrying capacity is your strength plus 3. How much you can travel. This is an abstract notion. Okay, so kind of a bulk analog. And then each character is skilled in the use of a particular weapon that they call the mastered weapon. And we can see that here on the sheet, right? Mastered weapon right here. So you can choose light blade, polearm, axe, and bow. This is so good. I get it. There are games like this where combat's not the focus. And they just basically say, look, whether you're using a dagger or a short sword or a wakizashi, or if you're using a broadsword or a rapier or katana, they're all the same. Now, I understand that there's this weird obsession with everybody who wants to be different for all purposes, but God's alive, I wish more games just did this. I just wish that we just had now, if you're playing a more tactical RPG, something with a little bit more, combat focus, maybe with a more tactical agenda, fine, give me 12 different categories of weapons. But I am so sick of these RPGs that have literally just hundreds of different weapons, Anyways, love it. I love this. This seems like an interesting choice to make. If you're not a strong character, then you can use dexterity plus int plus 1, very accurate, but doesn't do a lot of damage. Love it. Bows can be attacked from long range, but have very poor accuracy. Love it. Makes sense. Perfect. This one lets you double down on strength because it's strength plus strength, and the damage is strength. So if you're super strong, this is kind of a good way to go. AKA, you should be using a big axe. Love it. Actually, I just love this. This is very appealing. I mean, Fabula Ultima more or less kind of took this idea, but this is fantastic. During combat, attacking with a weapon that is not your master weapon will reduce your character's hit points by 1 for each attack. This is caused by exertion of using weapons you're not used to. Okay, so you literally lose a hit point every time you attack if it's not your master weapon. Interesting. I don't know why that rule. I wonder why that rule is in there. Okay, we start with a personal item, which is for flavor. This is only for flavor. We start with 1,000 gold, money, and we can buy stuff. We pick out our character details, name, gender, age, appearance. other elements of our character's background and stuff like that. Little sidebar here with the picnic rules. You can use these rules to simplify for players who are new to Ryuutama. We ignore size, we ignore durability, we ignore rules for concentration. All weapons use the same stats. Water and food is automatically refilled. Basically, easy mode. Hey, that's great. I love it. I love that they just have this very convenient, easy to use thing here. Oh, here's a sideways character sheet in the otherwise portrait mode game. Sweet. Pepper, thank you. I hope you enjoy the VOD. All right, well, I'm not going to read this sideways here. So here's a class. I'm not going to go through every class. So we're just going to go through the first one here, which is Minstrel. There's a bunch. Minstrel, Merchant. So we're just going to go through one. So skills are the specialties and techniques that are learned through experience on the job, turned into rules that can be used to affect the game. Each class has 3 skills. They have been learned by years of service or training or service in a town and will come in handy. Skill effect. This explains what effect the skill has when it's used, including whether you succeed, critical succeed, or fumble. Pull for class. Okay, I'll go pull for class. What class should we cover? All right, I can only put in so many poll options, unfortunately. So, let's see. I'll just pick ones that sound interesting to me. Well, I like Minstrel. Well, we can take a look at the Minstrel. We can also take a look at the Farmer. The Artisan or the Hunter. All right, so I'll let you guys pick which one we go into. Usable circumstances explain the conditions that must be met before the skill can be used. Skills that don't have any circumstances will just have a dash. Stat determines which dice are rolled, which stats are used. Great. And the target number. This shows the value that the dice must meet or exceed, aka a difficulty class, for the skill check to be successful. An entry of topography means that the value is the level of the terrain plus the weather modifier. And we saw a little allusion to this earlier, right? That the difficulty of the terrain plus the difficulty of the weather equals the total DC. So if the terrain is more intense or the weather is more intense, then it might be harder to do. So I'm going to take a sip of my soda here, and I'm going to let you all vote on which class we should dive into. And again, hopefully you all are enjoying it. Again, this week is a celebration of all things Knights of Last Call community. Thank you for everybody for supporting us throughout the entire year. We've got 3 more streams to go. I've got confirmation that Ben is going to be available on Friday. So Friday at 3 p.m., we're going to be doing a stream, 3 p.m. Eastern, with Ben. We're going to be talking about NPCs and the usage of NPCs in games and some of our favorite NPCs throughout the course of the game and different ways that we've used NPCs. So we're going to be talking about, in a way, we're talking about we're talking about Ryugenes, but not ones that have literal game-breaking abilities. All right, what do we got here for the poll? Oh, it is neck and neck, folks. I'm going to give it, when my clock says 8:04, I'm gonna stop it here. We're going to do that on Friday. We also have a stream tomorrow and Thursday. One of those days is going to be our Wild Sea first look. So we're going to do another first look, but we're going to be taking a look at the Wild Sea game. If you haven't seen it, the Wild Sea game. So this is another weird one. All right, I'm ending the poll. And with 40%, the Farmer beats out the Minstrel. So we're going to be taking a look at the Farmer. All right, let's get into it. So here's the Farmer. There's the Farmer. Definitely strong Final Fantasy Tactics art vibe on all of these things here. A very strong Final Fantasy Council JRPG vibe here. All right, so here's our farmer. A worker who lives in harmony with the bounty of nature. In order to reap their harvest, they must set their hand to a number of difficult tasks, giving them practice with a single skill from another class. We could be a farmer, a breeder, a milkmaid, and we could be farming and planting and hauling. All right, so what skills do we have as a farmer? Robust. Thanks to your healthy lifestyle, your body is sturdy and you are in tune with its natural rhythm. You are naturally resilient to ill effects and can carry more items. Skill effect. You get a +1 bonus to condition checks. And we haven't really gotten to those yet, but I'm guessing if we look down here, when we get a condition, it looks like we have a number that gets put there. And then it says, if the next day's condition check is higher than the status effect number, it is cured. So basically, I think this is saying we recover from conditions quicker than other character classes. And we get a boatload of carrying capacity. So farmers are quite literally just, good for carrying a bunch of shit, bunch of manual labor. Okay. But we also get the animal owner. You have learned how to raise animals that will help you carry your goods. Normally, only one animal can be taken on a journey for free without having to pay their food and water costs. But with this skill, you can keep more animals without incurring their food and water costs. As a total, you can now keep 2 animals, a total of 3, without paying for their food or water. So farmers get to journey with their cows and donkeys and mules, I guess. And again, it mentions here that animals are usually used to help you carry your goods. So I'm getting against a sense that the farmer's role is literally to kind of be the pack animal of the party and sort of just carry a bunch of stuff on the journey so that you can have a lot more stuff in your inventory. Again, I don't know what the point of the game is, but that's the, yeah, it's literally a class built around encumbrance. Yeah, farmers are the porters. Exactly. Interestingly, Torchbearer has a skill called the laborer skill. And one of the things that the laborer skill can do is basically like if you have like bags of loot that are designed to be like held two-handed, they can make a laborer check and they can basically just like sling it over their shoulder and carry it one-handed so that their other hand is still free. And potentially do the again with that in your other hand. So you can just make these laborer checks and just like carry out a boatload of loot from the dungeon. All right. Lastly, side job. Since a farmer's life can be tough without extra money in the off season, you've taken up another job on the side. When you choose the farmer class, choose a single skill from any other class that requires a skill check. You may use that skill as if you were a member of that class. But you're not as good as the other person is, so you get a -1 penalty. So we basically get to carry a bunch of shit and get a bunch of free animals, and then we get 1 skill from anybody else. Maybe we do some singing in the offhand, or we have a knowledge of tradition, or maybe we do some hunting, and we've picked up the trapping skill, or the animal tracking skill, or the hunting skill. So the farmer can kind of step in and fill the role that the party needs them to fill because of this side job ability. Class feature, Tensor's floating disk. That's right. That's absolutely right. All right. So very cool. Not too complicated. Nothing super over the top here. Now, remember, we also pick our type, AKA, are we a warrior? Are we an expert? Or are we an adept? Sorry, that's just what I would call it if I was designing a 3-pronged class-based approach. If we choose the warrior type, we get an additional mastered weapon. So remember, there's like 5 or 6 weapon types, right? Daggers, swords, pole arms, axes, bows, forgetting one. But they get another one, so they get 2. They get 1 extra point of damage, and they get some more hit points. So we can see that their character is going to be better at combat. The technical type, aka the skill-focused person, they get an extra +1 bonus to any check when they are using concentration for a total bonus of +2. So it sounds like concentration gives you a +1. They get a +2. We're not really sure what concentration is yet, but we can assume it's a way that if you really want to focus and make sure that you get a skill done, maybe at the expense of something else, maybe your mental points, your MP. You're quick, so you get a +1 bonus to initiative checks in combat, which implies that this game has initiative checks in combat. Womp, 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 womp. I don't like initiative checks in combats. And you get deep pockets. Your carrying capacity is increased by 3. Oh, shit. It's the farmer technical meta. That farmer's going to be carrying mad carrying capacity. You should see it, man. I built this character on Ryuutama builder, Tama builder, and this character is crazy, right? High strength. I'm talking D10. Farmer. Technical. My character had a carrying capacity of 16. Okay. Plus, I had 3 donkeys that I brought. They were each carrying 6. So, I mean, the whole crew, we were carrying 34 units of supply. You wouldn't believe the depth of my character's inventory seat. It was crazy. I've never seen a character perform at that level before. And again, that either sounds amazing to you or completely terrible. So you just got to pick. That's so good. Your tone is mocking, Derek, but you're actually selling this to me very hard. Don Pokey says, I remember feeling pressure to have a means of carrying and reducing encumbrance in the game. There's legitimate pressure and challenge in packing things beyond your gear effectively. And again, let me, this is why this is so funny for me, because I see what's happening to all of you and I understand what's happening to you. Okay. Here's why. If you go onto, say, Reddit and you go to a long distance hike Reddit, like the Appalachian Trail Reddit, you will see people endlessly debating what equipment they should or shouldn't carry on a hike. And everybody has different weights and everyone has different priorities and everyone has, and some hikers get obsessed over reducing their weight. You know, I've seen people that like will take their toothbrushes and they'll clip off the handle of the toothbrush. So it's basically just the bristle head and maybe a little stub, right? Because that saves 10 grams of weight, you know, and then they're in there, you know, brushing their teeth. When I hiked, you know, I had my little camping mug that I would boil water in to make rice or pasta dishes. It was made of titanium. Why? Because titanium is lighter and stronger than steel or aluminum would be. So, and then of course there was the way you packed, and, you know, you were obsessed over your hiking bag and what clothing you brought. And most hikers that I know, including me, will spend a month before they go on their hike or longer, like with all their gear laid out. And they're just sitting there kind of like going like, oh, should I bring this? No, I don't want to weigh it. Oh, okay. I want to shave a little bit more weight. So again, this is literally something that I have gone through just in real life. So it's very funny for me to think about doing this as a game. All right. Magic can harness the mystical energy known as magic, but it's in quotation for some odd reason. Magic is split into seasonal and incantation. As the characters gain levels, the more powerful effects of both types of magic become available to them. When a traveler chooses magic type, they receive a grimoire in which they can store their incantations. Got it. So melee characters can do 1 extra point of damage and have some more hit points. Technical characters get an additional +1 to hit, +1 to skill rolls, initiative, and their carrying capacity goes up by a few points. Magic characters can rewrite reality. So far, this seems pretty par for the course for a fantasy RPG. I don't know how much we're going to get into the magic here. Let's see. When you acquire incantation magic, you choose 2 spells from the low-level incantation magic list to acquire. Each level thereafter, you may choose and acquire 2 more incantation spells. At levels 1 to 3, characters choose from the low-level incantation magic. Upon reaching level 4, you get the mid-level, and at level 7, you have high. You can always choose lower if you wish. If you choose seasonal magic, you must choose one of the 4 seasons. Okay. So this makes me sound like the magic is maybe pre-written. Like it's more like a D&D where it's like a defined effect that, is spelled out, not like the kind of ritual system that Fabula Ultima uses, which I absolutely love. But okay, we'll take a look. So it says here, Brian has created a noble named Senza. Senza has shown appreciation for fencing for a young age and has studied at a prestigious college for future military officers. While he doesn't like resorting to violence until necessary, but the attack type still seems like a good fit. So with a strength of 8, Senza starts with 20 hit points, the maximum possible. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 from the attack type is 20, and marks an additional +1 damage. He writes it large since it will be his responsibility to remember it in the heat of battle. Finally, Senza chooses his 3rd mastered weapon. His starting weapon was a short sword, and he chose the pike as his 2nd mastered weapon when he chose the noble class. To round out his weapon choices, he decides on a bow. Senza starts with all 3 weapons for free, but he'll need to make sure he has enough room to carry them all while on the road. Or perhaps he'll sell off or trade some of his weapons at the beginning of the journey to gain more starting equipment. Haruka, on the other hand, has chosen magic and chooses the spring season. She adds extra MP to her total, looks at the spell list to decide which spell she wants to take at level 1. She will choose 2 incantation spells and will also receive all low-level spring magic spells. She notices there is no healer in the party, so right away she decides to take the Cure Touch spell. She also sees that her short sword isn't going to be doing much for her in combat, so she jots down the info for the Shooting Star spell. Since there are so many spring spells, she asks her Game Master for a secret photocopy. Hey, that's it says not Sansa, it's Arya. That is true. That's literally Arya, if you think about it. She uses a polearm in the final season too, for some reason. I've never seen her why, but thank you, Damien, for that. Yes. Here's a controversial opinion. I didn't like Arya. I thought the character was awesome when she was with the Hound, and then as soon as she went to Bravos, completely lost interest in the character. All right. So, party roles. Ideally, the party should be made of a variety of classes. As PCs take wounds, run low on food, break their weapons, or lose their way, it becomes very important to have a balanced team. The leader is the person who has the last word and keeps track of initiative. The mapper makes sure they're on the right track for destination, and they make the direction check in the traveling phase, and they keep the map sheet up to date. The quartermaster keeps track of their food and water and takes responsibility for buying the necessary supplies for the trip. Keeping food and water in barrels and trunks is much easier than each PC holding their own. This person will be responsible for the ration sheet. A character with the pack animal is recommended. And lastly, the journal keeper keeps a detailed diary of events that happen throughout the game as if done through the eyes of their character. Another option is to have everyone take turns writing the diary, switching off so that you get a few more interesting diary, or you get a more interesting diary at the end of the journey. Okay, sounds good. How to level up. At the end of each session, that is, at the end of each journey. Okay, so a journey is a session. So in other words, one session is one journey from one town, presumably, to another. Each PC will receive a number of XP, and once it reaches a certain value, you level up. Gain XP according to the highest topography, which is the terrain value plus weather value, target number encountered during the session. So if we get only 5 or 7, we get 100 XP. If we get a 14, we get 500 XP. We gain 50 XP each time the Ryujin used a benediction ability. So when the GM uses their abilities to help you, you get XP. Interesting. Okay. Gain XP equal to 10 times the level of the highest monster defeated this session. Note that if we fight multiple monsters, this won't matter. Only the highest level matters. So by and large, the vast majority of the XP sounds like it's going to be coming from the kind of journey that we go on, and aka the difficulty of the journey. Add these 3 subtotals together to determine the amount of XP that each PC gets. Okay. What happens when you level up? Well, max hit points and MP are increased. Each level, you get 3 points to divide between the two. Okay, so we get 3 points, then we can divide it between HP and MP. Our carrying capacity increases by 1. We're just, by the end of the campaign, like your characters are just like, you know, they've got like the massive stack of backpacks on their back. And we gain new abilities based on level. So we can see here that the game goes to level 10 and we get extra stuff, including at level 5. Looks like we pick up a new class. Very, very interesting. With only 7 classes in the game, I wonder if that kind of, you know, makes you feel less special. I don't know. Who knows? You get stat increases. I'm not going to go through all of these, but okay. You get immunity to a different status effects. Okay. Seems pretty crunchy. Okay. Lastly, we do get to go on the legendary journey. At 10th level, a character is able to embark on a legendary journey. The specifics of each journey are left to the GM, although ideas will be forthcoming in a future supplement. So it's like kind of like a 4th edition Epic Destiny. Items are all the stuff we start with. Geesh, this game is really complicated. Wow. I mean, all items have sizes, 1, 3, or 5. Our carrying capacity is strength plus 3, plus any other modifiers. Durability is equal to their size. Whenever we use an item, if we roll 2 nat 1s on a fumble, which is a fumble, it reduces the durability by 1. If the item's durability is reduced to 0, the item becomes broken and unusable. Now, the thing about it is, rolling double nat 1s on, let's say, 2d4, reasonably common. That's a 1 in 16 chance, right? So roughly 6% of the time, which is about the same, roughly the same odds as rolling a nat 1 on a d20. But by the time you're rolling something like a d8 plus a d6, the odds that you are going to roll double nat 1 is 1 in 48. That's only 2% chance. So you really aren't going to fumble that much. So I wonder how often this really actually comes up. Mark says, for something so boring and excruciatingly dull, it is way overly complicated. All right. Well, we've got durability and it goes down. When we're shopping, we can buy something for its gold. It's done in towns or at the occasional passing peddler. And we can sell things at half price, and we can't sell broken things. Okay. Items can vary wildly. For example, hats could be cute or uncool or tough. And you might even find hats made out of magical steel called mithril. Oh, the cute is literally a freaking mechanical modifier. Wow. Okay. I thought they were just being facetious. Well, there you go, folks. If you want something cute, it's gonna cost you. It's gonna be good. You could double its durability, but it could also just be cute. Again, if this is the type of thing that you're into, then this is for you. You may have any number of modifiers, providing they're not the same. You cannot have a cute. Magical items. There's magical items in the game as well. Some people are asking what cute does. Looks like it makes the thing really, really cute. Because, I mean, everything else here describes what it does in its game terms. So there's that. Orichalcum times 50 will never break. Sick. Magical. It could be walking. During travel, this item will walk on its own and you don't need to carry it. Shining, speaking, +1. the most powerful magical thing, which is taken for immediate granted in every D&D game, just +1. Here's our food. These are facilities that we can do when we're in town. The more delicious the food, the better the modifier to the next day's condition. Remember, we have to make a condition check when we travel to see how we're feeling. So if we go into town and we have a delicious meal, we're going to get a +1 bonus to the next day's condition check. We're probably going to be feeling great. We had a great meal. On the other hand, if we had a gross meal, -1. Same thing. What kind of room or inn are we staying at? Could be the royal suite. Could be the basic room. We get bonuses. We get penalties if we cheap out. For example, if we sleep in squalor, we have to roll twice and we basically have disadvantage on our condition check. You can have a bad day if you slept in the squalor. We can also go to the bathhouse. We could go to the cleaners. We could mail something from the post office, or we could go to FedEx, do some drop shipping. And then there's also getting our status effects healed, our wounds recovered, getting our items repaired, looking up stuff at the library, predicting the weather, and even having our fortunes told. Okay. There's also specialty goods. These are regional. When you buy these items in a town, you may resell them for full price in another town. Ooh. So you make no profit. So if I go to a town renowned for their magical, beautiful, magical, cute apples, I can buy them for 500 gold. And then I could go to a journey to a city that has no magical apples, and I could sell them for 500 gold. Wait, maybe that doesn't seem right. We got a super chat. Fantastic. I'm so here for this crunchy slice of life. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. This is someone said it. They said this is a surprisingly simulationist crunchy slice of life game. So what is this? This is I guess it's got some strong gamist energy to it, I guess. I do not know Spice and Wolf. Is that an anime? Oh, the merchant has a thing where they can sell items for more than, but that makes sense. That makes sense. They're running the money game. Farmer plus merchant equals capitalism mastery. We're going to go to the town. We're going to buy all their specialty goods. We're going to load up all our donkeys. We're going to load up the farmer, just tons. We're going to take it to the next place. Merchant's going to do their thing. They're going to Jeff Bezos the shit out of that town. Wow. OP. Talk about a sick combo build. You're just going to destroy this world. Here. Let me write you this one, Dragon. Let me write you about late stage capitalism as we take over these markets aggressively. Farmer merchant meta. Yeah. The farmer merchant meta is going to have to get nerfed hard in the remaster. They try to fix it with some item buffs in Treasure Vault, but they couldn't break the meta, Merchant's gonna merchant, right? Am I right? Merchant's gonna merchant. Can't help it. Right. One merchant, 3 farmers. Oh shit. That's so good.
I am strong.
It is fantastic. Let's see. What do we got next here? Weapons and armor. Let's see here. A character cannot equip weapons or armor totally more than their carrying capacity. So you're making a choice. Do I want to carry magical special apples? Do I want to have a cute hat? Okay. Or do I want to have weapons and armor? It's a tough choice, people. You might not ever get in a fight. Crab, Navy General. Hopefully Fabula Ultima will endure as its progenitor slowly fades into obscurity. Look, again, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. I think Fabula Ultima is the better game. What can I say? I think that it has I think it took some of these mechanics, and I think Emmanuel improved on them, and I think in a meaningful way, but also I won't deny that that is heroic adventure to change the world and save it, and overcome immense challenges and strife and dilemmas and problems, and fight a god in space at the end of time. That's more my style than going shopping for a cute hat. But hey, it kind of just shows you that a good mechanic is a good mechanic. And it doesn't really matter where you look at Blades in the Dark, look at Powered by the Apocalypse, right? The 2d6 miss, partial hit, full hit mechanic, was converted into Blades in the Dark's action system, countless Blades in the Dark, but that mechanic has endured because it's just a really good mechanic. So I like it. It's funny, Ken. Ken says this game needs a mortgage mechanic. It's funny. The game that this reminds me the most of is Traveler. Now, I know that there are people out there, including people like Rick Sherman from our own Night's Last Call Discord, who runs a weekly Traveler game on our Patreon. And, his Traveler is, high action, octane, laser, sci-fi, running gun action, very much like military sci-fi. But when my group got together to play Traveler, they all ended up being people that were in the Navy. They were all ex-Navy, like Imperial Space Navy, who had gotten their hands on an old luxury liner and were basically converting it into the Love Boat, and were going to shepherd rich dilettante clientele across the inner systems. Like, that was going to be how, and they were just going to make space bucks to pay for their space mortgage. So this is very much reminds me of Traveler in that weird way. Pumpkin coming in with a super chat. Thank you, Pumpkin. Showing my love for this game. More people should know about this game. Understandable if it's not your cup of tea. I just wanted to show it some love. Yeah, well, hey, we're here. We're talking about it. And I could definitely see, where this appeals to certain people. It's definitely it's definitely so I mean, going back to the Traveler example, right? You had the ex-Navy people, but one of the persons, when they realized what they were going to be the Love Boat, they started picking up ranks in the skill. It's not like diplomacy. It's basically the skill of like being a really good host. I can't remember what the name of the skill is. It's like the one that means like, how to like it's almost like a hospitality, like hospitality services. It was hilarious how like the characters went from being like, we're going to be these awesome space Marines, but then, the game has this random procedural generation, and they end up being cruise directors on a space yacht. All right. So here's all the weapons and armor. We saw this before. Wow, this stuff is not cheap. I guess you get to start with one of these though. If a character sleeps in their armor, the penalties also apply to the next day's condition check. Womp womp. All right, heavy armor gives you a penalty. So if you're going with heavy armor, you're going to be a grumbling son of a bitch. We got shields. It's called defense points. I wonder if it's like an absorption. Ken got it. Steward. Ken, that is exactly the skill. Steward. We ended up having this party that like all like maximized towards supporting the one character who had a high rank in steward. It was so bizarre. Especially because everybody thought, right, that they were going to make these badass, like the equivalent, like the Navy SEAL equivalent of in Traveler, and it totally didn't work out that way. Okay. Shields, armor. So it sounds like defense points might be sort of absorbative armor. Maybe. Shields, shield dodge value. When a character has a shield equipped, the target number for an attack check to hit them is the greater of either their initiative value or their shield dodge value. There is no effect on the shield equipped character's initiative order. high quality, and +1 each add a further 1. Interesting. So armor does not make you harder to hit, but shields do. I love that. In fact, I love that so much. In fact, a game which is essentially just an attempt to mock everybody. I don't know where it is. Anyways, Hackmaster. Hackmaster does the same thing, which is fantastic. But I love that. Hackmaster basically does the same thing. Armor is absorbative, and shields basically make it harder to hit you, right? Armor is designed to turn a blow that hits your body into essentially a less lethal or non-lethal blow. The purpose of a shield is so that the blow doesn't ever connect with you at all. So this system here is way better than either D&D or Fabula Ultima. In fact, one of the things I dislike about Fabula Ultima is I don't want armor class. Basically, I'm over armor class, and it uses an armor class system. So, yeah. Ayla with look at that, number 20. This stream easily makes my top 3 KOL streams for the year. Wow. Okay. For a variety of reasons. This game looks awesome. I don't care what the haters say. Well, I mean, thank you. I still don't want to play it, but I'm surprised. It's surprising me, right? It's surprising me. Here we go, boys and girls. We got traveling gear. I mean, this is the name of the game. This may be why this appeals to you. Because there's a part of us when we play D&D or Pathfinder, we see all this equipment and stuff that's in the book. And as time has gone on, that equipment list has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. But the truth of the matter is we all know the truth. Most of that stuff is just for show. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really make a difference. The mechanics for overland travel are just not so complicated enough. And there's a part of us that want it to matter. And Ayla, I think the reason why you're vibing with this so strongly is because you've been playing and reading and running Forbidden Lands. And Forbidden Lands, in its own way, is sort of doing the same thing. It is making a game out of the travel experience. Now, in their case, it's less about fun stories to feed the dragons of the seasons and more about brutal survival. But the point of the matter is, there's a line from Star Trek Generations where it's Kirk's line, but Scotty tells it to him, and he says, if something's important, you make the time. All right. And I often say on this channel that what gets rewarded gets repeated, but also what gets measured gets managed. And so the sort of the takeaway from that is, for a game games can say that they care about something, but at the end of the day, page count and crunch matter for a lot. And if a game is willing to put all of this detail into this type of stuff, then it's really saying, look, we actually do care about this, and this sort of thing is important. It's not just hand waving like, oh yeah, we really care about overland travel, and here's a table that shows you how many miles a day you can march, and if you have a ranger, none of this matters. Okay, cool. See, D&D is about overland travel, and it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's just not. It's just not. Right. Forbidden Lands minus Edgelord plus Kawaii equals Ryuutama. I agree. One of the things I didn't like in this game was how your initiative roll was your AC. You have an action to re-roll your initiative, but that uses your action for the turn. Interesting. Okay. And we got another super chat coming in from the Karab Navy General. Red, black Ryujin games are way more typical fantasy, but hard to find. The game's reputation and marketing lean hard on the blue-green. And I assume you're talking about the difference between the Ryujin dragon types that they kind of talked about at the beginning of the session. Listening while running errands, almost dozed off. The game nearly bored me to death. Quick and dirty, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you later, buddy. I am also pleasantly surprised. So here we go. We've got different types of shoes. We got different types of capes. And apparently that's it. Oh, nope. We've got staffs, hats, accessories, animals with characteristics of our animals. Is it a pack animal? Oh, shit. I wasn't prepared for that. A pack animal has a carrying capacity of 15. A large pack animal has a carrying capacity of 30. Oh, shit. Okay. Here's more stuff. Food, rations, climbing equipment, camping equipment, sundry items. The game literally has a 100 gold stuffed animal. Different containers, big containers, item kits, if you want to just buy a bunch of stuff all at once. Then we have all the stuff for healing herbs. Healing herbs work like if you're playing Darkest Dungeon, you buy bandages and whatever, that stuff for Darkest Dungeon. But then when you go back to town, it all expires and spoils because healing herbs only last 24 hours. By using a disposable magic herb bottle, you can keep a healing herb fresh for 7 days. So apparently, my guess is they're basically designed to be, used for one journey. So my farmer with my 3 large pack mules, Viking, check out my sick camel drover build. Oh yeah, I broke the meta with the camels. Turns out they were OP. Everybody else was buying their cute hats, but I early on identified that the camel was the way I wanted to go. I loaded those bad boys real nice. I went with the tough characteristic because that way they need no food, even in deserts or alpine. And I was fine with them having a bad attitude because I knew that I had the skill capacity, so that helped offset that cost. And honestly, it was a really nice combination of abilities. We really broke the meta on that one. It is slice of life gear porn. Yes, it really is. Look, if you're playing a game where this matters, good for you. A single-use item that is used to warm your bathwater up to 40 degrees Celsius. Nice. Portable hot tub on command. All right. Disgustingly, I think Smith would love this game. We got all types of different herbs, some for the body, some for the mind, some for enhancement. We can find them in different types of terrain. Crazy. Then we get into magic. The seasonal dragons wield the very power of creation. Magic is but a tiny portion of that power that humans can use. With magic, all manner of things become possible. All right. You have to be free to move around. We can speak. We have enough MP. And if we're using a spell other than touch or caster, we have to be able to see the target. Magic that is learned through study or practice is called incantation magic. So that's kind of like the D&D typical wizard tome magic. If your tome is lost, you are unable to cast incantation magic. Okay, so you need the book. Seasonal magic is more of like a natural affinity. So incantation magic, wizards. Seasonal magic, sorcerers. Yep. It relies on feelings and emotions to cast magic. Yep. All right, cool. All right. Select which spell you want to cast. Get the range, choose the target, chant the words, spend the MP, roll the magic check, which is intelligence plus spirit. If 2 nat ones are rolled, the spell fails. Any other result usually indicates success. The magic is invoked and lasts for a duration given the spell's description. Well, that doesn't seem particularly thrilling. I mean, you're just rolling to see if you get 2 nat ones. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. Seems like a lot of effort just for nothing. But if you're casting a spell on an enemy, the magic check has to beat their higher than their condition. Okay. Effects don't stack. We can end them early. Ritual magic takes an hour-long ritual. Normal magic can be cast instantaneously. Magic tends to cost 2. Remember, it's double our spirit. So, like, if we were a magic type, we had a spirit of 8, we'd have 20 MP at the start of the game. So 20 MP is how much like the dedicated wizard caster character could have. Keep in mind, our farmer, you could be a farmer and choose magic as your role. So you could be like a magic farmer. It's like a druid. Yeah, so here we go. So these spells read very similarly to the spells, the not rituals, but the actual spells from Fabula Ultima, right? They're very short. They're very to the point. They're very, very, quick, easy, one and done. Here's your damage spell, Shooting Star. Roll a die. It deals damage equal to that much. It's 4 MP. Boom. That's it. Quick, over, done. Cure wounds. Roll a die. Heal hit points. I love Fabula Ultima even more because Fabula Ultima is just like heal 40. Or heal 40, heal 50, something like that. I can't remember how much heals for. But point is, it's very quick. It's fat. It's easy. So these are your low-level incantation magics. And then you have your rituals. Ben wants to know, why does every game with a ritual have a casting time of 1 hour? It's like long enough to be like measurable, but not so long to like completely disrupt the entire day. For the duration of the spell, the caster may tame a number of wild animals that are within sight at the end of the ritual. They may be either used to ride or pack. In order to cast the spell, you must capture or detain the animals. Caster rolls a die, and the number of animals equal to that result are tamed. Do-do-do-do-do. All right. I like this. A pale round barrier protects you. You get 3 defense points for 12 hours, but that's 10 MP. Remember, that's like half your mana. That's a lot. Tamed for 12 hours. Yeah, so this could be used like a Pokemon game as well. Sure. So here's our mid-level incantation spells. Draconico open. Wow. Summons the monster compendium Draconica. The target monster's page automatically opens and displays its data. I love it. Here's the monster book. Look it up. I don't care. That's fantastic. It's the Pokédex spell. Yes. The Wartortle is a water-type Pokemon that uses blasts from its powerful cannons. And we got the good thing we're mid-level. Now we can clean clothes. I have a question. Why do we know this inventory space for? Is there a lot of loot that we need to lug around? That's a great question, Viking. Now, we did know that in our merchant farmer capitalist meta build, we would want to stack up on valuable consumables so that we could sell them in markets for a significant markup. Especially if we use supply and demand and Laffer curves in order to estimate price equivalencies. I thought Axe had this down pat, but apparently Ryuutama takes the cake. So, all right. So we got our spells. And then we have the seasonal magic. This is the sorcerer magic. And again, remember, you get all of these spells automatically, but there's just less of them. So spring magic has, cure spell and filling the area with flowers. Then we got our mid-level spells and all this. Resurrection's Kiss. Breath of Life. We just have to kiss them. Then we have our summer magic, including the Koropokuru Cute Leaf. Huge leaves appear that can act as umbrellas for up to 7 people. The leaves may be used for a +1 bonus to rolls involving rainy weather, but you can't actually use them in conjunction with normal umbrellas. And then we have fall magic, and we have winter magic. Okay. And then they have sort of like a, example of play. All right. So there's a lot to handle in this game. It is 8:50. So we made it through. We made it through the path of Ryuutama. We made it through book 1, the Book of Spring. We were probably never going to get through the Book of Winter. So now we have the Book of Summer, and we have the Book of, which is about the rules of the game. And then we have the Book of Autumn, which is the rules for the game master, the Ryujin, their GMPC. So what do you all want to do? We're not going to be able to do both tonight. So we can either do the Book of Summer and basically cover the rules of the game, or we can jump ahead to the Book of Autumn and take a look at the rules for the GM. So we can either do the Book of Summer or we can do the Book of Autumn. Part 2 stream. That'll have to be a new vote, Pumpkin. I don't control these things. So when is the free market stream? I want that before part 2 of this. Standing by. If you think this game is weird, this game looks like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition being played down at your local game store compared to this game. All right. Looks like it's a slam dunk. 82%. Everybody wants the Book of Autumn. All right. Viking says, GM rules, please. I'm actually curious how you're supposed to play this thing. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. The rules for this, I want to really quick here. We're on page 132, and the rules go to 176. So we're going to go a little quick here, but all right. So first we have to choose a type. Now, somebody in chat was mentioning this earlier. So, the type of dragon that you pick are each kind of change the way that the game goes. So the green dragon is recommended for beginners and involves adventure and exploration. The blue dragon, the Azure dragon, involves stories about relationships, human drama, love, and friendship. The crimson dragon is focused on the combat system of the game, and the black dragon is for conspiracies, betrayals, and tragedies for darker stories. So that's pretty cool. That covers, I think, the gamut of what I think people are really looking for with this game. All right, so then we have to choose our shape-shifted appearance. We all have 3 forms, all of us. We have a horned human, a great dragon, and one other form. This is our non-threatening form that we can use to approach the travelers. All right, so it's just kind of a fluffy thing like, oh, I'm also a little bird, or I'm a butterfly, or something like that. The GM starts off at level 1, but we can grow as high as level 5. Higher level Ryujin can cast more benediction or assume a human form and travel with the travelers. There we go. Just when we thought that the GMPC couldn't get more GMPC, now you can literally, if you level up high enough, you can become a PC and actually join the party. I don't know how I feel about that, obviously. Record your LP or your life points. These are your health and vigor. They allow you to use your benedictions and reveals. See those rules for details. We begin with 3 LP. And at the end of every journey, parentheses adventure, our life points refresh to their maximum score. If our LP drops to 0, we die. Their fallen body glows, then disappears. Once a Ryujin dies, they are gone forever, never to return. This can happen when a Ryujin spends their last remaining LP on an ability. If they die in the middle of the journey must either end immediately or a new Ryujin must be created to step in and guide the journey to its end. This is very strange. Why would I kill myself? And if I kill myself, we either have to stop the journey. Hey, I'm going to spend my last life point to do something cool. Oh, I died, so the journey ends. Well, actually, all right, we're going to keep the journey going. But everybody hold up. Wait while I make a new character? It seems very strange. Psych! I was a green dragon. I spent all my points. I'm dead. Now I'm a black dragon. I'm going to fill your lives with pain and misery. All right, anyways. We'll see where it goes. Artifact. The artifact is a tool which provides, before we do this. So this is the GM sheet. We've got our GM name, the date, the character's name, the race, the LV, the alternate shape, our artifact, our inscription, our maximum life points, our benedictions, our reveals, our goal, our protected worlds, and our history of tales. So there's not really a whole lot here. Seems pretty minimal. The artifact is a tool which provides us with... you'd kill yourself if it's dramatically appropriate, I guess. You're absolutely... LV is level. Why wouldn't you write LVL? I guess. I don't know. Anyways, maybe it's a translation thing. The artifact is a tool which provides the Ryujin with mysterious powers. It might be a great sword, a ring, or a chalice, but whatever form it takes, the manipulation of this artifact is what allows us to sway the natural order of the world. Each type of Ryujin has 3 artifacts. The Ryujin is a thaumaturge. They have 3 artifacts they can choose from, but they have to select one. At character creation, pick one of the 3 artifacts available to your Ryujin type and write it down in your character sheet. If you wish, you can name it to give it some flavor. It'll have an ongoing effect. At the end of a journey, you may exchange your artifact for another available to their type, but it cannot make it in mid-journey. Okay. So choose personality, choose a goal. I want to write a tale involving beautiful scenes and delicious foods. Now, keep in mind, each Ryujin has a purpose in mind as they guide the stories of the travelers. So this is me on my own as the game master deciding what I want the game to be about, I think. We'll see. I don't know. It's a little undefined, but there's part of me that does not like that. Okay. Playing a Ryujin can be an extremely difficult thing. There's nothing quite like it in any other tabletop role-playing game, so it can be difficult to get used to, especially for experienced GMs who are not used to this kind of role. Here are some tips. At first, simply focus on your ability. The Ryujin doesn't have to appear in a journey. It's totally fine to hear the players say, it didn't look like the Ryujin appeared this time. This keeps the focus away from the Ryujin and makes them more mysterious. Ryujin usually operate from behind the scenes, so if they aren't seen or noticed, it means they're doing a good job. After the first session, there are new powers available to the Ryujin, the benediction and reveal powers. So again, you don't start with those apparently in the first session. The first session, the players are actually on their own. Use these powers to increase the drama of the journey. Use them to support the travelers, to give them a chance to shine. Benediction and reveal are very important parts of the system. In fact, you may want to plan ahead and think of good opportunities to use them within the scenario. Now, I'm sorry, but this all sounds very railroady to me. Be mindful of the feel of the game. You should help and support the travelers when you think it best. But remember, the journey is about the travelers. And if they are constantly being rescued and assisted at every chance, the journey will be less meaningful. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is kind of like no, we can go wherever you want. I mean, wherever you want to go. I mean, it's just if you loved me, we would go to the Virgin Islands. That's all I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I mean, you are definitely. I find that this statement has like a lot of cognitive dissonance in it, to a certain extent. The traveler's journey from place to place with light support from the Ryujin, but it is by the traveler's own feet and their own will that they do the walking, not the Ryujin. It is a delicate balance. I can see where you could achieve a form of balance, but I agree with them here. I think this is a delicate balance, and I think it's very easy to get this very wrong. When you get used to it, bring your character out into the open every once in a while. There are many ways to play the role of the Ryujin. You can be the narrator. The Ryujin might not appear, but the GM might narrate the beginning of the journey from the Ryujin's perspective. This can really set the mood and the feel of the game and make it easier for the players to understand the game. So basically, before the players begin, it's like the GM goes over and says, and the 4 people left the town, heading into the dark woods. But what they didn't know is that a terrible storm awaited them, and they would have to contend with the spirits that were upset about the recent activities of the humans, right? Like, you're kind of basically like telling them what the game is going to be about. But then sometimes you can shape change. Sometimes the travelers get lost and they don't know what to do. So then you can appear in a shape change form and just tell them what to do and give them a hint. But be careful not to lead them around. Just make sure that they do what you want them to do. There's an Azure ability that lets you travel with the party, but don't steal too much of the spotlight. It's probably best to appear subtly as a small animal. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, an albino white glistening squirrel appears and looks quizzitively at your party, and then seems to cock its head as it kind of indicates you should go this way. Or you could just go straight up to director. There's something happening over here, so I want you to go and check it out. The travelers could end up doing work for the Ryujin. Be careful, though. This is very easy to get wrong. It's like everything that they're saying is like, do this, but also don't do it because you're going to fuck it up. Yeah, so I don't know what this is. What I'm hearing when I read this page, what I am reading is railroad the PCs, but do it subtly enough that they don't know that you're railroading them, or that they don't mind, but because the game is so obviously blatantly railroading, do it in such a way that they won't care that they're being guided and railroaded. Anyways, I don't know. Again, I'm just responding to what I'm reading. So what if we pick the green? So we've got a section for each of the dragons. So this is the basic, I'm into exploration and journeys. Artifacts, the encyclopedia. You are running the game using rules as written. Interesting. Sextant. This artifact indicates the GM has created a few original rules and will be using them. Or you can use the torch. At the end of each session, all the experience by PCs is doubled. Excuse me while I say this. Huh? What? Huh? I don't remember. We get to pick one of these artifacts. Like, so if my artifact is the encyclopedia, that means I'm playing raw and I can't do anything else. But if I choose sextant, then I've created a few original rules and I'm going to be using them. But then if I choose torch, does that mean I'm not running the game raw? Or does it mean that I'm not using a few original rules? Because I only get one artifact, but then randomly everybody also gets double experience points. But when I'm running, if I choose torch, am I running the game rules as written? Or am I running the game with a few original rules? Okay, interesting. I get benedictions that I can spend. Remember, I think we start with maybe one or two of these, and I think we have to spend life points to cast these. I could be wrong. The tale of the journey. Up to 2 PCs who role play well, basically, can ignore all weather modifiers for the rest of the session. Hey, you role played well. Ignore the game rules. The tale of nostalgia. If the PCs role play having nostalgia from home, they can ignore all negative effects of mind-based effect. Or at the end of the session, up to 2 PCs who write about their journeys in a diary will receive their character level times 300 gold. Hey, you two go ahead and write little journals and I'll give you a bunch of money. I don't mean to say this without going through the whole section. I hate everything about this. Moving on. Here is Aoryu, the Azure Dragon. If I choose Crystal, now this is about communication, relationships, boys and girls, families, siblings, teachers, and pupils, drama, and friendship. If we choose the crystal artifact, all the PCs can survive damage that reduces them as far as negative 20 hit points. They will not die until negative 21. The ring. This artifact determines in the setting that all of the PCs are relatives, students, or disciples. But can't I change artifacts between journeys? So if I start off with the crystal and we travel for a couple of times and then I switch to the ring, we suddenly become relative, students, and disciples? And if I choose the mascot, I get to literally go into the party and follow them around in my shape change form. Why? Do I have stats? Can I do anything? Like, how is that different than me just being the GM? Okay. Players who help PCs who help others expecting no gain or reward can raise their spirit score by 1 level for the rest of the session. PCs who are in love get 1 point of armor. Tale of the Heart. Hand out 5 chips to each player. If one of the players role plays in a way that moves someone's heart, that player may give them one of their chips. Each chip thus received can be exchanged by the receiver at any time for a fumble point. The fumble point can be used immediately. Again, fumble points happen when we roll double nat ones, and I think they probably give us a bonus or something to a future die rolls. So you're role playing really well, so I'm going to take my currency and give it to you, and now I don't have it. Interesting. Okay. The red crimson dragon is the battle dragon. During the battle setup phase, you can include twice as many objects as normal. I'm going to guess that an object is a monster? Long spear. This determines in the setting that all PCs are members of an army and are traveling in order to fulfill a mission for that army. And the longbow. In battle scenes, the initiative statistic is not used for defense, only turn order. Instead, before each strike, you roll dexterity plus intelligence to determine to dodge each attack. Benediction, the tale of the hero. Once per session, if a PC would die, instead, everybody's restored to full hit points. Hey, you would die. I'm focusing on the combat. Oh, shit, someone died. Everybody's healed to full. Each PC who has a rival or adversary can raise their strength by 1 step for the rest of the session. And another tale of revival. A PC who ends with negative hit points but then heals above 0 can choose any ability score and raise it by 1 for the rest of the session. And then the Black Dragon. Chalice, we all have a dark past. Dagger, once per journey, an NPC can die. No roll required. Anytime the PCs experience fear, they make a fear check. Otherwise, they get shock. 4. And we have a tale of revenge, a tale of guidance, and a tale of slaughter. A benediction, or by its common English spelling, benediction, is a spell or blessing of luck. These can alter the flow of time or people's destinies. They're almost like miracles. Ryujin can use benediction to save the travelers, increase the excitement of the story, advance the story, or just fix problematic events that occur. Viking, that's a great question. I don't know. Once a Ryujin progresses beyond first level, at each new level, they are granted a single slot to contain a benediction. Before each new session gets underway, the GM assigns 1 single benediction to each slot. They can be chosen from the common benediction list below or the benediction list specific to your color. Each benediction can only be slotted once. Here's our answer, Viking. The GM then tells the players the names and the effects of the benediction that they have chosen. Each benediction can be activated once per session, anytime the GM wishes. You can also cast benedictions that you are not assigned to by spending 1 of your life points. You can activate any benediction, even ones that you don't have. This benediction still has to be one that you can use, though, so it's got to be from your type and the common list. Well, no, Ayla, it's limited if it's outside of your it's limited if it's outside of it. Otherwise, if it's one of your slotted ones, you get it for free once per session. Because it does say you can cast a single benediction multiple times by sending life points. So it's somewhat limited. It's limited, but it's somewhat limited. This makes it almost worse. You can't house rule if you are not the green dragon, apparently. Yes, that is how I would read that. I would completely read it that way. These are available, by the way, to all of the GM, Dragon, Storyteller, Mary Sue people. Benediction who could control time. You could rewind time. In the middle of combat, a PC fumbles a roll and dies. Instead, this event leads to the total defeat of the party. Instead, you can rewind time back to the beginning of the first round of combat. All right. I didn't like that. I'm rewinding time. We'll go back to the beginning of the combat. We'll try it again. Or we can fast forward time. We're running out of time in our game session, so I want to speed up and jump past the planned scenarios and go straight to the climax, or even just jump straight to the ending. Jumping straight to the travelers walking along the road home after having just achieved the goal of the journey. Hey guys, we're running out of time, so we got to end. So I'm going to fast forward it. You make it through the woods. There was a spirit person. You talk to him. It was really fun. And then you get to the town and it's great. And let me tell you about what each of you did during that cool journey. Benediction, who controls fate. You can just declare any check to be a critical success. Or you could declare that all the dice are ones. I absolutely hate this. Even in the context of this game. As much as I wouldn't want to play this game, the other parts of this game seemed legitimately interesting. But this Ryuugene thing, this dragon NPC GM Mary Sue PC, this mechanical hyper in your face fudging thing is horrible. I hate this. Benediction, which controls NPCs. You can make a monster have triple hit points and make it immune to all status effects and cure it of all of existing status effects. You can make a monster become a massive single mob. You can automatically surprise the party. An NPC who they killed returns, no longer dead, or an NPC can immediately run away. No check made. So I absolutely dislike all of this. I mean, this to me is the single worst thing I have ever read in my entire life. I mean, this is just horrible. Crab Navy General, though, is absolutely right. It's not hidden. That's the interesting thing. Because you're right, Crab Navy General. We talk about this on this channel a lot of times. I am totally fine with GMs doing things and bringing, as long as they're open. I roll all my dice rolls out in front of the thing. And you're absolutely right that a lot of bad D&D GMs will just do this anyways. They just don't tell anybody. And then they congratulate themselves on being such an amazing and incredible GM. That's an interesting idea. Why don't the players control the Ryuugene? That's interesting. Isaiah says, I take back my earlier comment about you interpreting this in the worst way possible. You were, but you were right to do so, it seems. No. You are correct. This is definitely not soft fudging. This is a rule. I had to slot this ability. I had to pay life points to trigger it if it's not one of my slotted abilities. So we're playing the game. And, we're going through, maybe I'm a higher level Ryuugene. I have like 5 or 6 life points, right? And, a combat goes off the rails in a way that I don't like, or maybe you guys are really kicking its butt and you get a couple lucky rolls and I roll like shit. And I just go, you know what, guys, this combat is not working out the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to spend 2 life points. We're going to rewind that bad boy back to the beginning and let's play this thing out again the correct way, okay? On the first roll, the monster critically hits. I'm going to declare it using the benediction of which controls fate. It's like, what is happening right now? Why are we rolling the dice? Why are we going through any of this? If the whole point of this game is to give the GM the mechanical tools to make sure that their stupid, dumb story plan gets enacted in the way that they best see fit, what is the role of the player here? The player is there to be like, an unwilling participant for the GM's weird fucked up story time. I hate everything about this. All right. Moving on. The reveal. The Ryujin has 3 forms, one of them being a dragon over 10 meters in length. When the Ryujin, when the Ryujin emerges in their dragon form and saves the travelers, it is called a reveal, or in common English spelling, reveal or awakening. This is one of the Ryujin's most powerful secrets, not resetting the flow of time. The travelers that this Ryujin attempts to protect can fall into all sorts of serious trouble on the journey. Of course, I mean, it's a good thing that we have all these classes and roles, and we've made all this, choices about our equipment and our choices of what we want to put in. But, sometimes things go bad. We run out of food, we succumb to fatigue or die. And then, when the circumstances are bad, a dragon will appear and save the travelers. Hey, it's okay. You guys didn't pack any food. It's fine. The dragon appears and saves the travelers. Okay, but why did I make a farmer with all my animals that can carry a bunch of food then, if it doesn't matter? Because if we would run out of food and die, the dragon will just appear and save us. So none of my choices matter. So we're just little dancing puppets for you, GM. Yeah, I hate this. The Ryujin begins with no reveal. At level 2, you get a new one, and you can choose it. They require life points to activate. All right, if the travelers get lost, they're not lost. If they fail camping check, they didn't fail the camping check. If they run out of food, you give them 3 days of food. All objects in combat that have been expended become usable again. If anybody's about to take damage, nobody takes damage. If an enemy's not dead, you can do a bunch of damage and kill it. Wow, great stuff. What about, how do we level up? Well, the Ryujin grow as they feed the very travel logs they gather from the PCs to the seasonal dragons. It's based on the number of sessions that you have run. After every session, it's important to record the data into the journey info box. Get the signatures of the players too. What? This becomes proof of the number of sessions run? What? After a number of sessions done, the Ryujin level, you get more benediction slots. You get more reveals. And eventually, you get up to 5 life points and eventually up to 10 life points, which means that you could do all those ridiculous, dumb, broken abilities. Remember, those reset every session. Okay? You could do those dumb, stupid abilities like 3, 4, 5 times a session. And that's not including your benediction slots, which you can use for free. Oh, hell. All right, if we get to level 3, we get a diverse benediction, and we can take a benediction from another Ryujin type. So if we get to level 3, okay, so if we play 3 sessions, then we can finally take the ability to house rule, even if we're not a green dragon. If we're like a crimson dragon or a blue dragon, now if we go to level 3 and we use that ability, now we can finally house rule. So that's kind of cool. That's nice that they gave us that ability. Oh, we get 2 artifacts. Oh my God. Wait a second. What would happen? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? What if we're a green dragon and we take the encyclopedia and the sextant as our 2 artifacts? What happens? Does the world blow up? How does this function? After 7 sessions at level 4, we get the Traveler Introduction. We get a new shape-changing power, and now we can change. Now we can change our form, and we can actually we get to play too, guys. We get to accompany the travelers, and now we get to be the GM, and now we get to write the story, and we get to play the story. Wow. Okay. And then finally, after 12 sessions at level 5, we get seasonal dragon leaves the nest. The seasonal dragon you have been raising reaches maturity, becoming ready to leave the nest. The dragon departs, leaving the peaceful nest behind, along with a new seasonal dragon egg, and starts its own journey across the line. From this point onward, the Ryujin is referred to as a mare dragon. Even if the GM runs a journey as another Ryujin, the original mare dragon can appear in that journey and use a single benediction or reveal per session. In addition, this kind of completed dragon gains the use of ritual benedictions. If a player, not a PC, if a player falls asleep in the middle of the session, their PC realizes that they lost money from their wallet. So if you manage to play this game for 12 sessions and get 12 people to play with you long enough that you get to 12 sessions, you gain the ability to, if someone falls asleep, you can steal money from their character. Or you can make words taboo that they can't say, such as a modern word or a modern language, and they take damage if they say it. Once per session, something that a player says actually happens in their game. If they jokingly say that their character says or does something watch out, it just might happen. The GM ad-libs the entire session from session to start. The players should go with it and assist as much as possible. The next or even the current journey is just determined by playing rock, paper, scissors. What wacky fun. All right. The last thing that we do is we make a scenario. We read the rule book, we gather our friends, and we play the scenario. We gather the seeds that we'd like to try. We write down the situations. We create the objective. We think about the 3 acts of our play. We fill it out. We figure out exactly what we want to have happen. Each scenario is made up of short vignettes called events, which we write out in advance and basically figure out exactly what we want our session to do. All right. Then we go through Act 1, Act 2. There's a turning point. Act 3, climax, ending. All right. So example, here we go. All right. So scene purpose. Get the players accustomed to condition and travel. Well, this is kind of an example. In the grassland, an introductory sample scenario. A town in the middle of a large sweeping grassland. It sits at a crossroads between 4 large cities. The streets are full of vendors and carts. In the center is a lovely market. Specialty. Thanks to its location, a wide variety of goods from across the different countries can be found here. Cute items can be had very cheaply. By the way, if there aren't any players that want cute items, then just pick something different. Reasons to go. Because of the cute item. Because you've been traveling for weeks and are looking forward to hitting a bath. Satir, no, you do not feel this as a goal. This is all prep. This is all pre-made scenario planning. Departure point. We start in media res. We are entering Ifa from the gate on the edge of the Alfambra grasslands. It is 2 days of travel. The most difficult encounter will be 2 days of heavy pouring rain. We have our scene here. This is what happens, the town, the thing. These are the reasons why we want to go, and this is what it would look like. Here are our different things. We meet a man. His name is Joshua. He tells the party this. Then there's heavy rains. Then they find Kotaro, the Kanoko goblin, under a tree. If they help him, they can get some earrings. Then they search for items, and then if they fail, then they succeed. You get an umbrella. Then the rain continues to find. Then there'll be the puddles, and they have to make another check, and then they get to the town. So basically, you completely write out what you want the adventure, this is one session. A journey is one session. You plan out the opening scene, Act 1, the turning point, Act 2, the turning point, Act 3, climax, and the end. So it is you are basically scripting the entire adventure and what the PCs are designed to do. And by the way, remember, if the PCs go off of this, you just use your Ryujin powers to basically force them and steer them back onto this thing. The PCs are basically just going through the motions here. And here's that's like the summary sheet, this is the summary sheet. And here are the specific events listed out.
It's at $100. No one deserves this kind of pain.
Carl, that is an incredibly generous tip, and somehow, for the first time ever, actually feels warranted. Thank you, buddy. This was. I'm sorry if you like this game. I don't think it's a horrible game. The mechanics are very solid in some ways. I just find this kind of overt GM railroading, storytelling, interference bullshit, especially when it's just completely made. Like, what is the player? This in a way is the complete antithesis of what I want out of a game. You know, I want as a GM, I almost want to have minimal power. One of the reasons I know people are like, oh, it's just like Player's Handbook, Powered by the Apocalypse. No, in Powered by the Apocalypse, as a GM, I am limited in what I can do, right? I don't get to just decide to do things. I have to follow the rules of the game. And only when the players attempt certain actions and only when they roll certain 6-minuses do I actually get to do something. And even then I have to follow my principles and my agendas. So I'm not given a blank check. I'm not given carte blanche to just do whatever I want to do. Now, while this was very painful for me, I can totally get that there are people out there which can completely dig this. So thank you so much for that, Coral. Thank you for crushing our tip goal for another great year. And it's only Tuesday. You're amazing. This channel's amazing. This community is amazing. We've got 3 more streams coming this week. We got a Wild Sea first look. We've got NPCs and maybe some favorite dungeons of all times with Ben on Friday. And we have another stream that I still have to decide what it's going to be tomorrow. Anyways, thank you very, 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 very much. That $100 goes a long way towards making the sting a lot less. All right. Yeah. So there we go. So here's another scenario. This is the Neko Goblins and Strife in the Town Market. This is a little bit higher one. And here we go. The party arrives in town. They check in at an inn. They wander around. They do shopping. All the cute items in town are sold at normal price. Then one of the PCs notices that their money's stolen. Then they have a chance to notice the pickpocket, and then the goblin gets away. Then the innkeeper will ask the PCs for help, and the PCs will be offered 700 gold to help. And of course, naturally, the PCs accept, and the next day they encounter the Neko Goblin in the same day as the marketplace, but it creates a distraction, and it escapes. But they have to fight a magic hand, and the goblin gets away once again. Then they chase the goblin all over town, and then they find the bandit, and they fight, and then the PCs obviously win. They turn the goblin over to the innkeeper. He throws them a party. They are thanked by everyone, and the PCs can now start for their next journey. So, what is this? What are we looking at here? I think this is worse than the Ryuutama stuff. I don't even know if that's possible. The player side looked great. The Book of Spring, I have to say, almost had me excited. The Book of Spring had me feeling like, yeah, this feels kind of like my Traveler game, a little bit like my Forbidden Lands game. Okay, fine, whatever. The hat is cute and it costs twice as much, but you know what? I can understand that. Look, sometimes I buy things for aesthetic, but like this thing here, this is not prep. You know, Ben, it was a while up in chat. Ben said, this is not prep. This is a script. And that it's literally a script. I will enjoy this game plenty after pretending that the Book of Autumn does not exist. There are folks who enjoy their travels by rail. All the vistas they get to enjoy. Isaiah, that is absolutely correct. People miss that with PBTA. If there isn't a GM move for what you want to do, you cannot do it. Agreed. GM moves in PBTA are limiting. They're not actually empowering. And again, Crab, I agree with you. That's not me. It's not the kind of game I want to play. But even I have a problem fundamentally because there is a belief I have that at the end of the day, tabletop role-playing game is about the player's choice and the player's agency. So, anyways, why even play? That's exactly, Satir. Why even play? Yeah, the railroad sucks. It's sad. Oh, Ben, this is so true. This is sad that this is probably the way many GMs prep regardless of the game. you know what? That is so true. That is so true. Wow. I didn't really think about that, but you're absolutely right, Ben. I think this is the way that people view their adventures. Whether it's because of Critical Role or whatever, or even because of adventure paths, and they're kind of like, oh, well, they have to go here and they have to beat this person so they can go to the next town so they can do the thing. Oh, wow. Yeah. What is this? A story prompt? Exactly. What if the PCs want to set a trap for the goblin? What then, game? Well, not only that, Viking, even if they did set a trap for the goblin, you could use your benediction and reveal powers to make it so that they critically fail. All right, yep, you set a trap. I'm going to spend one of my benedictions, though, because, as the dragon who's hoping to get an interesting story, because think about it, it's manipulation, right? The dragon is trying to get a good story, quote unquote, his story, so that he can power up his seasonal dragon. He is basically using the PCs as guinea pigs. He's using you to fulfill his story so that he can make it interesting enough. And he's like, well, if the PC's captured, if the travelers captured the goblin right away, then it wouldn't be an interesting story. So I'm going to use my power to make sure that they roll double nat 1 for that roll. So, man, yeah, it's horrible. They had us in the first half. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, compared to this shit, the player stuff was solid gold. Solid gold. We got a super chat from Calderic. Says, should we do free market tomorrow? Oh boy. We had a poll. I'm going to say this. We are not going to do free market tomorrow. That being said, we will do free market soon. I think free market, I have to be in the right headspace for that. And I'm already doing this first look today. I'm doing another first look with Wild Sea this week. I'm having a guest on Friday. So, tomorrow might be more of a, one that doesn't require so much craziness and prep. But we will do one because this, after streams like this stream deserves free market. And for those of you who have no idea what this game is, let me just read you. Let me just read you the introduction. Welcome to the Donut. We are a society of functionally immortal, cybernetically modified, telepathic infovores. Our culture is based around a reputation-based economy in which all basic needs, sustenance, and shelter are accounted for. If you wish to do more than survive, if you wish to create, perform, build, or destroy, you must win the approval of your friends and the community at large. This community at large is currently over 80,000 individuals strong. It is contained in a Stafford Taurus-style space station parked at the L5 Lagrange point between Titan and Saturn. Our habitat was originally designed to hold 40,000, but we have accommodated it to handle our expanding numbers. There are no laws in our society, yet there is also no crime and there's no death. So we think we're doing a good job. You are one of us now. Welcome. What? What is that game? If you've ever read Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom by Cory Doctorow, then imagine that, but in a space station. Anyways. Thank you for that super chat. Let's see here. Well, more examples of creating stuff. Let's see. And there's a replay of us doing through this. All right. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say here. All right. Does the game fulfill its promise? Yes, it does. It has a very compelling, deep, crunchy player creation system with an interesting overlay of role and class and a lot of quote unquote slice of life crunch to really make journeying and traveling and dealing with the challenges of weather and obstacles and combat and monsters and problematic diplomatic situations, all a very interesting proposition. And it creates this wonderful framework for telling really interesting stories with a definitive focus more on character building and exploration and not just a combative slog. And then it introduces the GM chapter and the Ryujin, which is the GM PC that can fundamentally change the game in weird ways. And at the same time, also limits the GM from being able to do other things, which is very strange. And then creates a scenario system, which is honestly the most railroady thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So I don't know what to say. I have never gone 180 so fast on a game where I came in going, this is going to be horrible. I start reading it and I start going, wow, the mechanics here are kind of cool. It's not my cup of tea, but I can see where this is fun. And then I start going, actually, this kind of reminds me a little bit of our Traveler game, which wasn't focused on space combat. It was focused on traveling from star system to star system with our love boat crew. And, and I'm like, oh, these mechanics are kind of cool. And wow, what a crunchy, fun way to engage with weather and the terrain and how much stuff we can carry. And you're like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And that kind of accounting and dragons, spreadsheets and dragons is sometimes kind of fun. Figuring out how much fuel you have for your traveler ship and, how are we going to be able to make it to the next system and we have to refuel, but do we have enough time? Like that kind of pointless number crunching is really great. So I kind of was getting turned around. Again, it was 180. I was like, actually, probably not something I'm going to have time to get to the channel, but man, this actually is kind of cool and well designed. I can see why Fabula Ultima took some of these mechanics and these systems and kind of lifted them out of the game and used them as the core backbone of the Fabula Ultima system, and why Emmanuel did that. So that was the first 180. Okay. And I was about to come in here with a mea culpa. I was about to come here and say, it's still not a game I'm probably going to play, but honestly, you know what? I get it. This looks fun. This looks interesting. This looks delightful. This looks cute. This looks fun. I'm in for it. And then, wow, another 180, straight worse than it was before. Because as much as I thought the Ryujin stuff with the benediction and the reveals was terrible, the scenario creation, the strict plot railroading was worse by far. So it went from being, neutral, slightly negative, let's call it slightly negative, to actually becoming fairly positive. Maybe not overwhelmingly positive, but I could see the appeal to it, to just through rock bottom, just complete, what is going on here? My advice, ignore everything in this, but open the book, read the rules, read the book of spring about how to make characters, read the book of summer, which we skipped, how do you make skill checks? What's a difficulty number? How to evaluate a dice roll? What's a contested check? How do we get information from stuff? All this stuff, by the way, is basically Fabula Ultima. Not saying that, again, Fabula Ultima took this from Ryuutama, right? This table might as well come out. This table, I think, basically got copied by Emmanuel and put into Fabula Ultima, which is totally fine. The key takeaway, play Fabula Ultima. It takes the most good stuff. What's concentration and how do the conditions work and how do we recover? So these are all the rules of how the game plays. And I like condition. One of the reasons I like Fabula Ultima is because I like Thirsty Sword Lesbians and I like Avatar Legends and I like Masks and I like PBTA games that use conditions, because I think conditions are a great way to do that sort of narrative mechanical interface. And I think it's a great way to assign penalties and conditions for failing checks to make the game interesting and to make it so that nothing happens. Here are all the journey rules about going through woodlands and grass and how to figure out the weather modifiers and all this other stuff and how to find travel in the journey. All this looks great. All this looks great. And then we didn't get to the combat rules, but here are the combat rules. And again, look at this. This is like a JRPG. There's the front rank and the back rank, and then there's the initiative order. Looks a little crunchy. I don't know what the hell's going on here exactly, but it looks fine. So spring, great. Summer seems legit. You got to take off and nuke it from orbit. This is just completely unacceptable to me. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that, I was prepared to give the game like a solid B, and now I have to give it, I don't know, like an F minus, I guess. I don't know. Like all that stuff is, for me personally, just complete anathema to everything that a role-playing game is about. Like, not only, hey, railroad and create your scenario and play it out, but then here are the literal game mechanics that I'm going to give you so that the GM can fudge legitimately, like that makes it somehow worse. Maybe in a weird way, almost. I don't know. Like, because the game is basically like, no, this is all about the GM telling their story and the players are just along for the ride. So, yeah. Think about like how chaos, right? Like if we had gone from spring into summer and we'd wrap up, we'd probably be like, wow, look at this cute little Weebo game, Weeaboo game. And, it's got all the fun stuff. And it's like, wow, it's just crazy. Yeah. This GM section was very disappointing, Pepper. Yeah. That's true. Autumn, where the seasons where things went to die. Thousand Tail Theater says exploration is very fun in Ryuutama with the journey rules. I bet it is. I cannot believe that these rules are just these GM rules, scenario rules, and these Ryujin rules are so just horrible. Yeah. So there we have it. It's quite the journey. This was quite the journey. Now, Ayla brings up a great point. She says this game makes the case for ignoring dumb rules. Okay, fair enough. But at what point are we ignoring dumb rules? Could you ignore the entire section of the book and not play with it? Sure, I suppose you could. But at a certain point, I have to question, like, what are we even doing here? I guess. I mean, if you feel like those journey rules and the character creation rules are so compelling that it's worth ignoring, a third of the book. Yeah, Satir said exactly. I mean, it's hard to ignore a third of the book. That's a lot of the book. That may be the worst GM section I've ever read, and I've read a lot of Final Fantasy Flight RPGs. There it is. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not going to tell you should follow those rules. I think those rules are horrible. There isn't a single thing about those rules that I liked. I didn't like any of the reveals stuff. I didn't like any of the I like the idea of like the GM as sort of part of session 0, sort of saying like, hey, I want to set the tone of our campaign. And like, you could do it stylistically by saying, we're going to have a red dragon campaign, a lot more fighting than we normally have in a game like this. Or we're going to have a blue dragon campaign that's going to be much more about interpersonal relationships. We're going to have a green dragon campaign that's more about the journey and the travels. I think that is fine, but in a more of a thematic, stylistic sense, more of a thematic, stylistic sense. But to literally give you mechanics that then force you to allow the GM to force that agenda to happen, and to do so in such a kludgy, weird, awkward way on top of a railroaded scenario structure. Yeah, I think that's just, I think that's horrible. Yeah. Popping in late, I'm going to have to watch this back to see the train wreck. You know what, Kevin? It was quite the journey. It was quite the journey. We got a couple super chats coming in. We got Unfortunate Pumpkin with a $5 super chat. The game even says the GM stuff is the most important part. I am disappointed that this turned into a railroad game. I was hyped at first. Yeah, I mean, I was not hyped at first. Actually, this game did me the most dirty because I was not a fan. And then the game made me a believer. A little bit. Just a little bit. All right, I think you can see it. If you go back, I think you could see I was the role stuff, the class interaction. I mean, it seemed like I was kind of making fun of it, but not really. I thought the interaction with the rules and being like, hey, look, this game cares about journeys. This game cares about overland travel. So yeah, things like encumbrance matter. And that felt great. Like I was like, actually like, okay, this is kind of cool. There were a lot of elements from Fabula Ultima that I really like in Fabula Ultima that I was seeing their genesis here in Ryuutama, just expressed in a different way and feeling pretty cool about it. So for me, I went from being a kind of a closet hater, right, to a believer, to just, you know what it reminds me of? I was never a basketball fan. I'm from Cleveland. Okay. I was never a basketball fan. I just didn't believe. And then I became like, the season 2016, the Cavs were doing well. Fair weather fan. I'll be the first to admit it. But even before they made the playoffs, I started watching the Cavs games for the first time ever. I went to some games. I was watching the games. I was really engaged in that season, and we went all the way and we won the championship, and it was awesome. And I was like, you know what? This was amazing. And I'm going to be a sports fan, and I'm going to be a basketball. I've never been a sports fan. And so then 2 seasons later, after several disappointing playoff runs, LeBron, or 1 season, 2 seasons, LeBron left and went to Miami. And it was like worse than like became a fan and then got shit on. So like this was kind of like the same journey for me. Pepper says, laugh through the pain. Well, thank you for the $10, Pepper. You know what? I do this. We are here to entertain and educate. So hopefully I have entertained you and educated you tonight. Hopefully my pain was somewhat enjoyable for you all out there. If you have to ignore a significant chunk of the game to have a playable game, you're probably better off with another system. I tend to agree. Have you ever taken a look at Fellowship? Does the GM character thing much better, in my opinion? I own Fellowship 2nd edition I don't think I own it in print. Maybe I do own it in print. I might own Fellowship in print. I'd have to check. I definitely own the PDF. But anyways, I haven't really taken too deep of a look into it. I've glanced through it. Like I've read it, but like in a way that like almost like a first look, where I kind of just like scroll through, got a vibe for it, saw what was different about it, what it did differently. So that being said, I think fundamentally I tend to like PBTA games. So right. Ultima points are a much better way to do this effect. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Ultimate points do serve a similar role in a way in the game. They are just done in a much better way. 100% Isaiah. Yeah, exactly. Completely agree, Cal. Completely agree. Still top 3, and I do laugh at your pain, says Ayla. Yes, well, it is I will suffer for my art. Let's just say this. You've raised my hopes and dashed them brilliantly, sir. Exactly, George. I kind of got like, oh, this is kind of fun and kind of cute, and maybe I will watch an anime. Maybe I'll go watch some slice of life, and maybe I'll start thinking about playing. Oh, nope, never mind. They completely killed that part of me inside of me. That small child, that glimmer of hope that has been dashed into the rocks. Ryan says, I hope Wild Sea fares better than this. I hope so too. All right. Yeah. Expected a chill review of a slice of life RPG and got a once in a lifetime journey. So 10 out of 10. Good job. ? Absolutely. I finally almost caught up, says Really Cool. And now I'm just stacking them. So you'll never catch up. So question, Derek, after 161 live streams, is this the most painful one so far? So a couple things about this being live stream number 161. Originally, when we did live streams, I did not count the live streams that we did with our games. So the root games, the original Quest for the Frozen Flames and the original Rise of the Runelords did not count. So we've actually probably done more like 190, maybe 200 live streams. But in terms of like non-actual play, so live streams. That being said, was this the most painful one so far? No. The most painful live stream was probably one of the all spell, like one of like when we were really deep into the deep cuts of all spells ranked. That was a brutal slog, and I had just been worn down by so many bad spells. Like there was just a chain of just like F's, and I was just like, what are we doing with this game? What are we even trying to do with this game? I was so, archetypes was bad, but like it was a little bit more it was a little bit more fun. There was a little bit more levity in the kind of, but like all spells ranked was brutal because of the length of it. So this is up there though. This is up there. Yes. This is in the top. This is in the top 3, top 4. It's in there. It's up there. This was bad. Like my personal reaction. Oh boy. Have I ever read Anima? I have not. I have not read Anima. Glad PvP. Glad Play by Post doesn't claim this, so we didn't go down with it. I know a lot of D&D players who would probably be happier with this game, but I don't think anyone subscribed to this channel would want to be at those tables. And again, this game exists. Who does this game exist for? I don't know who, but I'm glad it does. I'm glad this game exists. I'm glad it exists for those people. I'm glad that this gives them the tool set that they need to be able to tell the kind of scripted role-playing game session that they want to do. That isn't for me. I advise that that's not for you, but who am I? I can advise that you shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't vape, but you're going to go do whatever you want to do. That doesn't make you a bad person. And I gave you my advice, and you can take it or leave it. So, yeah. Anyways, that is how I feel about this particular game. Let's see here. The art is cute though. Well, there is that. The art is great, and the art is still A+. Well, we'll give them that. Yeah, players on board for this game are on board for the whole thing, the whole schmear. Yeah, like I agree. Like if you're clear with, again, we were like, oh, maybe the players don't know about the benediction abilities. Nope. The GM's like, hey guys, I'm slotting in these abilities. I'm slotting in that I can turn any of your rolls into a critical success. I'm slotting in that if you were die, everybody's healed to full instead. And just so you guys know, nobody's dying, nobody's failing. I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry. Your Ryujin's got you, son. Your Ryujin's got you. I got you. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about the dice rolls. Don't worry about the mechanics of the game. Don't worry about trying to play it. Just, go where I tell you to go. Everything will be fine. So anyways, so there we go. There it is. That is Ryuutama, a game that I pulled the full 360 with a twist, reverse grip snow slide 720 on. This was a tough one, folks. Well, thought we were going to make it quick, but you know what? We kept going because you guys kept supporting the stream. So thank you so much for that. We are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be looking to do the stream a little bit earlier. I'm going to try to get the thumbnail out, but it's going to be in the afternoon. The only thing I'm worried about, you know what? Let's do this real quick. I know it doesn't really matter, but Roll for Combat is doing their live stream tomorrow at 3. So, like, do you guys care if I do it at the same time, or like, should I do it before 3 o'clock, or should I do it later? I kind of said I would do it earlier. I'm not bound to that. I don't have to do that. You let me know. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's the thoughts here? What is their topic? Believe it or not, I believe their topic is not going to be a hot take. I think they've run out of hot takes. I believe the topic is, I don't know if Steven's going to be on it, because Steven, I think, is on vacation. So I think it's just going to be Mark, and it's going to be, let's see here. It's going to be Mark and Jess, and they're going to be talking about kitchen sink versus specific target, specific genre and RPGs. At least that's, in theory, the topic. But, so anyways, I don't know. I mean, again, it's more of like one of those like professional courtesy things. Like if I know someone's running a stream, like, should I run a stream? But because I don't usually run mine at that time, yeah. All right. Fair enough. That's fair enough. You should join them and introduce the great Ryuutama. Mark would hate it, and I think Jess would like it, actually. And yeah, I agree. Actually, I think it is kind of an interesting topic. Crab Navy General. Hopefully this helps to make up for the suffering. It was an entertaining journey for the audience. Yeah, Crab Navy. I mean, listen, everything you get here is 100% genuine. I mean, that's what you get. You get what you pay for here, folks. I try not to oversell anything too much. Thank you very, very, very much for that, Crab. Thank you for the support all night. That's been very generous of you. Thank you so much. It does. Here's why. Because we learned, right? We not everybody agrees with me. That's fine. And that's okay. But what I want you to know is how I evaluate games and why. Okay, Derek doesn't like this, but why don't I like this? What are the reasons? And if those reasons matter to you, then maybe you should evaluate how you're running your games or what game systems you choose to do as well. Because sometimes people don't understand that the thing that they are doing is actually the thing that they don't want to do. So anyways, yes, you all suffered too. All right. Well, I'll put a poll up. I'll talk to this. I'll get this on the patron. Why did you keep this on your soundboard? Fair enough. All right. Well, don't worry. The anime WoW is going to be only for this stream. It'll be going away. Yeah, this is the first time the GM section of a game just hurt me. Yeah. I've heard that the 5th edition DMG is pretty bad, but this might be worse. Talk about a game ruined by it. But all right, everybody, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get going. My advice, learn from this game if you want. Actually, if you want my honest advice, if you like this game and you like the ideas of it, maybe play Fabula Ultima and wait until Emmanuel comes out with camping and more detailed travel rules, or maybe kind of steal some stuff from this and put it into Fabula Ultima. So, yeah. But I think Fabula Ultima is a better game pretty much on almost every level. So, took the parts that I think are the best parts and got rid of a bunch of horrible crap. So, fantastic. And Fabula Ultima does have a natural fantasy setting coming out sometime in the next, year or so. So, definitely worth considering and checking out. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'll be back. So really, when I say I'll see you next time, I really just mean I'll see you tomorrow on Knights of Last Call. Good night, everybody. Peace.